Live. What's happening? You hear me? I actually didn't even check everything.
Oh, I can hear you.
I had my whole computer wiped today, and so then when I came on here, I had no idea what exactly was all connected and not. And so then it said the camera's not connected and the Wi-Fi is not connected. Each one like,
heck.
one at a time. Yeah. So sorry.
Oh, what's up? I mean, I don't know if you heard, but we're at DEF-CON 5.
DEF-CON 5.
Yeah, or whatever number it's supposed to be. I don't remember.
What? Why was it? Because
oh
of
my
all
God.
the abortions, non-abortions?
Yeah, because
we're all gonna die because we can't have abortions.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some male ally made the mistake of telling Maven that it's gonna be all right.
Is there a DEF-CON 6?
I think we're there.
But is there really? Like, there's only 5, right?
I think so. Like, if
everything is it?
I have not.
Look, okay, here it is. The actual DEF-CONs. There is no 6. So this is the problem with hyperbole, which hyperbole can be part of the issue nowadays because I guess we'll get into that. But here it is. I looked up DEF-CON. There's only 5 of them. Why is blue the top? Is that really the top?
Wow.
It doesn't seem like blue would be it. So what exactly is DEF-CON? Is the DEF-CON 5 reason in her reasoning?
Well, this asshole that he was trying to comfort her, he said, we're going to be fine. We'll get through this. Hopefully these things will sort themselves out in the future. We will, just telling her, like, chin up, buddy.
There are bigger problems in the world than a woman's inability to murder her unborn
Name
child.
One.
It says you flip, you bigot.
At all.
Name one. Bigot. Or name 10. Or 20, name some.
Healthcare.
Inflation? You
Drunk
say inflation?
Is healthcare lit?
Did you guys see in the news that California Highway Patrol pulled over a guy for speeding in his Rolls Royce, and he was drunk and had a monkey?
What?
And the monkey was also a crime. You can't have monkeys in California.
Oh, I can see that.
I'm just like, wow, Rolls Royce. Yeah, like you've got a Rolls Royce, you got a monkey, you're king of the world. Like, don't speed.
Did they kill the monkey like they killed Peanut?
Yeah, they probably will. It's a 1-month-old. It's a baby monkey. Could have been aborted.
He's dead. Dead monkey.
It's okay. He'd probably grow up to claw off some neighbor baby's face anyway.
Yeah. But that doesn't happen for like at least 20 years. They're cute until then.
Yeah.
Which is about the same as homeless people. I didn't say that. I'm sorry. I meant unhoused people get violent.
Yeah. What are the what's the cuteness threshold for unhoused individuals? When do they stop being adorable?
This is a cute unhoused person. Like, oh, now they're not so cute. Send them back to the streets.
I thought you were saying acute as opposed to chronic. I am acutely homeless.
So that is DEF-CON 5A. Well, I don't know. DEF-CONs. The lower the DEF-CON number, the more severe the situation. So it's backwards. Is that true? I didn't even read it close.
Well, that would make a lot of sense because it starts on blue then.
So DEF-CON, but white is the end of it. Like, I guess in today's world that makes sense. White, if stuff goes full white, you're in full danger.
I don't know. Maybe they're going with hotness levels. Isn't white hotter than red hot for most metals or something? I don't.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you remember the threat level midnight? I mean, not threat level midnight. I mean, the what was the threat stuff during the Iraq War? The
orange, the terror threat.
The terror threat level.
What was it? Yeah, man,
that was the Doomsday Clock.
Oh yeah, it is reversed. Troy's right. So she isn't being hyperbolic, or well.
No, she probably thinks she's being hyperbolic. There's no way Maven is level-headedly saying, like, this isn't a minor emergency.
Yeah. This is very low on the list of things that we need to solve today.
Yeah.
That's when hyperbole backfires on you.
Yeah. Well,
we're at DEF-CON 12. Oh, so everything's all right.
Well, all right then. Relax.
I think that's kind of one of the things I sort of wanted to talk about because there's so much to chit chat about, and I haven't had time to prep a lot of stuff because I've been crazy busy myself. But things this week, we just touched on it because it just barely hit last week, but then it became an even bigger thing, which is the Techbros versus the Maga people.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
But one of the things that blew up about that is, look, I'll show you a video by a guy who they're just like,
One of the things that blew up was a cyber truck.
oh yeah,
That's one of the things that blew up about Techbros.
that did blow up about that. Was that a tech bro? Is that verified? Some sort of like angry MAGA person? I know
think
somebody went and rented their car.
I don't think it was angry. I don't know. I mean, okay, so somebody rented a cyber truck and blew it up in front of Trump Tower. I'm guessing it's some anti-Trump stuff. They really
Yeah.
wanted to make it
Anti-Trump and Elon, but which
and
side
Elon,
is that
yeah.
now? Because that was in the middle of MAGA hate fest, and
the thing is
we
that
knew the lefties were already on hate fest. So
it
who
was
is
an
it?
Army Special Forces guy,
Jeez.
which, like, because on the one hand, I'm like, well, if he was Special Forces, shouldn't he have done a better job? He only killed himself. Like, just like, well, that's kind of like, that's just a little bit worrisome because, like, I thought you guys were experts in murder and you
No,
fucking failed.
It's like the DEF CON thing. It's
Oh,
the higher the
he's just really good at giving.
yeah, the higher the word goes, the more like if you say ultra mega forces, that's like the dudes that serve slop in the
catering corps.
yeah. Maybe special ed forces. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw firecracker at Donald Trump.
So this is
never go
some midwits on Twitter laughing about it. But
Former CNN host Don Lemon is on TikTok. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but he was watching, obviously, as we all were over the last couple of days, the infighting between Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump and the MAGA base and MAGA influencers, and Elon Musk, demonetizing a bunch of MAGA accounts and kicking a couple people off and blocking Laura Loomer, and they're all just fighting amongst each other. And the base of Trump's voters, when they see Trump sticking up for immigrants and immigrant labor and immigrant visas, are like, oh no, did he lie? Did he lie to us? I feel like he lied to me. I regret my vote. So Don Lemon put up a video that is the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen. And I'm not going to stitch it or duet it because of the amount of the sheer volume of profanity that he uses while he is laughing at Donald Trump supporters. And he's like, oh my God, I love this. Now you're finding out, you dumb effing idiots. You're just now figuring this shit out. You're so effing stupid and you deserve it. And you effing deserve it because you're so dumb.
so I had to show this because I think Don Lemon took that one down. So this is just some dipshit laughing about it. But talking about like hyperbole, like they're saying, ha ha ha, don't you idiots get it that Donald Trump liked immigration?
Yeah, he was always on.
That's what you idiot lefties are harring about. So like that's what I'm talking about, like that the hyperbole of the thing, because you guys hard yourself out of an election by overly screaming that this guy was Hitler.
He also told us he wants completely closed borders and complete abortion bans, and he's never fucking said any of that.
Who was lying to him? Was it Don Lemon lying to him? Maybe they believed Don Lemon that he was going to ban all immigrants. That's who was saying it.
I'll be honest, I thought this guy was going to start clowning on Don Lemon because I've never seen somebody unironically laugh at a Don Lemon joke. Like I thought about that joke about it
because he's cussing and they're you know they are what they are. Like, oh, he said swears at the MAGAs. Jim Bennett. I like this.
It's like when you get a woman at a blue collar job and everyone thinks that she's just absolutely hilarious because she says fuck sometimes.
I don't know. Somewhere in the past like 10 years, it became so hip to say fuck that even presidents and shit are saying it nowadays, and they drop it in their stump speeches like it's the cool kid thing to do. But that's so stupid. It's so stupid that you guys think it's funny because you guys were duped by the same thing. The two people who believed Trump was going to be that hardline on immigration were you idiots and the hard right, which is like why we always get back to the horseshoe theory stuff. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to him. You just bought into psychotic hyperbole. But
Also, aren't you like a little stoked about this?
yeah,
That
like,
he's
oh my
not?
gosh, he's not like full anti. He's pro legal immigration. What? And always was. What? He's pro vetted legal immigration. Very pro, like honky pro about it. In fact, we can find a clip of him saying how honky pro he is about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is part of the whole big lie is that, like, not even the hard right, well, I guess even the hard right, I should say, Republicans at large are not and have never been anti-immigration. They have only ever been anti-open borders, right? Like they've only ever been anti-unchecked, unregistered immigration. They've actually always been fine with the classical idea of immigration, where like we check you out, we know who you are, there are limits, not just anybody can get in at any time. Like that's all it's ever been.
Well, that's
But it was the Democrats who wanted to turn it into what it is now.
Well, it's most of what the Democrats said for still most of my lifetime. The Democrats talked about immigration pretty much the same way. Like we need to secure up our borders or whatever. Like even 2015 Obama talked about.
Oh yeah. I mean we'll see what happens
Oh,
with
it was
Trump,
all
but
the
Obama
Democrats in the 90s. It's half the reason we always joke that we've always just been 90s Democrats.
No,
Obama is still the deportingest president in American history. Like he deported more people than anybody. And that's just like this weird fact that exists and that just doesn't register to anybody.
Well, that
Nobody
was
called him a white supremacist.
It was one of my more lefty friends was asking me like, oh, where do you think they went wrong on the Kamala Harris campaign? And I gave him a bunch of things I think they did wrong. And one of the things I said, I was like, well, and then the Democrats just went insane this last decade on immigration. And he's like, yeah, they did. And in my head, I'm like, this is that gaslight off ramp we're always talking about. I was like, motherfucker, I have heard you talk about people wanting to deport illegal immigrants as fascists or wanting to hedge up the borders as being idiots. And now you're like, yeah, we were pretty crazy about that. They were pretty crazy about that.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Do I let you gaslight me or do I give you an off ramp? Is that the same thing? Are off ramps and allowed gaslighting the same thing? I guess off ramps are just
they don't have to
permitted gaslighting, right? Like I will permit you this gaslight.
Well, they don't have to, because like if you just admit like, oh man, I was kind of nuts about that, then it's not gaslighting. It's just you're admitting it. Like that's the difference between.
But that's not off ramping either. Like that's just apologies and forgiveness. You know what I mean?
That's kind of
like off ramping's a little bit of like you're gonna let the person slide that they didn't get as crazy as they did.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just look at the difference between like the Young Turks is going through this crazy thing right now where they're like, yeah, we want to work with Trump and stuff like that. And there's a huge difference in the way that Anna Kasparian is doing it versus Cenk Uygur is doing it. Like I was annoyed with her when she started doing it, like coming around to more reasonable things. But she was pretty like forthcoming with saying like, yeah, I kind of went crazy in this area and I didn't know enough about this or whatever. Like I still got annoyed because she's talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing and how she still like for the longest time thought he killed black people. I was like, bitch, this is your job.
Yeah.
Right? If you were like a normie and you thought that for a while, that'd be but this is your fucking job and you talked about it nonstop and you
she was a guest professor in journalism at like Columbia or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know where, but yeah. But then you got Cenk Uygur just acting like he was always like this. Like and he just pretends that I mean, he's now talking about people like, oh, I know they're not racists for voting for Trump or whatever, but you could pull up a clip of him in 2016. Like a lady called in and said, like, look, I'm not racist. I just thought Trump was a better candidate. He's like, well, did you vote for Trump? She's like, yeah. He's like, that's why we think you're racist.
Then you're racist.
Of course.
Of course.
That sounds like Aaron Ra these days. He's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, Aaron Ra was just listening to him go on and on about Ayaan Hirsi Ali and how
did you tune into some of that?
I did. I had to some of it. The Mr. Deity, the ex-Mormon, they're just so much smarter than Ayan Hirsi Ali.
Well,
Wait,
that's
why,
like,
he's
bothered me
mad
about-
at her because she's Christian now. That's it. Like that's.
They talk, like they weren't. She wasn't ever a real atheist.
Oh really?
But they said she was almost one of the 5 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Well, the other thing that
I
bugged
don't
me
know
in
if that
that
was
is,
true.
like Mr. Dede says, like, I'm not even an atheist. I'm an apatheist. It doesn't matter.
Shut the
Except it
fuck
does
up.
matter because you're pissed off that Ayan Hirsi Ali is Christian now. So you
Yeah.
obviously do care. Like, I don't care.
Do you remember there's that great Futurama bit where Fry they're like a political thing and Fry sees a booth for the voter apathy party and he's like, "Oh, hell yeah." And they're like, "You can't join." And he's like, "Big deal." And they're like,
You're
"Okay,
in.
you can come in." And he's like, "Awesome." They're like, "Nah, you're out." That's what I think about people who attach apathy as a prefix for the title that they apply to themselves. Anytime I've heard somebody say I'm an apatheist, I'm like, no, you're not. Like you don't. None of you cares at all. There's not a single part of you that cares. Like, does it all go black when I die, or do I carry on forever? Like, not a single. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I care about that. I
Yeah,
don't know what
like-
happens. But
I mean, I would prefer.
what can I do
you know?
about it? But yes, I would prefer to keep existing somehow, or maybe I could take like a break from existence for a minute. That'd be a nice rest. But it'd be nice to pop back in
I
somewhere.
think, like Maven, I think Maven is happy that it all goes black. Like she thinks we should abort babies on the off chance that they might be born into abuse.
Well,
Like,
if they never existed, it would have been super nice for them.
Or a loving, or just a loving but impoverished family.
That really is the belief of that stuff. Like it really is. Like that red button stuff is those galaxy brains thinking they're going to save other people from existing because it's all. I guess we would all have to suffer like Maven suffered because she had Mormon parents.
I just want to know if we could quantify suffering, like give it a point system, what would be the median human suffering that we would have to cross that threshold before Bill Reel would no longer press the button? He's like, "Oh, you guys are almost there, but too bad." Beep.
Probably not his own life. He's probably like, oh, my life is so much pain.
I know. Well, and he's probably in the top 1% of best lives to have ever been lived.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess that just means red button all the way, man. Right? We got a red button.
Yeah,
Let's just listen to Trump real quick and get off this.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B?
Wait a minute. So, like Jim Bennett's reaction to that would not be, I've been duped. I've overplayed my cards. Oh, I think I fought too hard. Oh, I've been overly hyperbolic. No, it's ha ha ha, Maga, like that. That's the response to that.
But like, was this a secret? Like,
no, it wasn't. You just
How
had
do
to
we-
listen to him and not listen to the mainstream media talk about him.
No, I know. I've been like thinking about this for a while. I'm like, do we have? I'm sure we have footage of Trump talking about H-1B visas before this.
Oh yeah, none of
Like-
it's.
I don't recall him ever being against it. In fact, I
No.
recall him saying
said
that
from the
legal
beginning.
immigration is good.
He always said that. He always said we need to bring over the geniuses. We should steal the geniuses. He said since a long time ago, he thinks anybody who gets a degree in the USA should get automatic citizenship.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and he said that like that is pretty freaking. That's even like left of 1990s Democrat, is what we keep saying, but they just didn't really listen. I mean, that's just Trump, and then of course Elon and Vivek are themselves like hardcore into that. But that does bring up the Sam Hyde speech. Did you guys listen to the whole Sam Hyde speech?
No, I only listened to bits of it, but
I thought it was a pretty funny speech, actually.
He's like a master comedian. He just swaps in between being totally serious and joking like perfectly in that speech.
Yeah, he pretty much nails it. And he hits the points of, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like the super, as they call themselves, theory cell. They always add the word cell to the end of everything, like cell. You go, I'm a theory cell and that sort of deal. Like it's just not overly intense like that. It's just like come on, stop yanking our cranks about H-1Bs. And some of that is true. And one of the persons who's been on about it since forever is Eric Weinstein. I've heard him talk about this since like 8 years ago about how that system's gamed, it's overly gamed, and it's not really making sense. But from the start of all this fight, Elon said from the beginning, we have to revamp that system and then use it. He didn't say just straight use it. He said we have to improve that system and then use it. But some of the points that I'm going to try to find the video of Sam, although it's too long of a thing, but just to share it with everybody else if they didn't see it. Although I already saw Sinatra say "Sam Hyde for the win" in the comments. But some of the things he said, which I think are kind of particularly funny, are like the ideas of man, oh man, all those Indians are gold. Like we better bomb China so they don't steal all those Indians from us. Because if we don't get all the Indians here, I mean, that's just the answer to prosperity. And what if China steals them? And that just kind of demonstrates a little bit of the ridiculous nature of the argument. But here's the dear Elon. How did he do like the long, wide show of that sort of deal? But some of his funniest crap in this was him cracking on Moist Critical.
I know.
He just keeps saying these are Moist Critical's ideas, which Moist Critical, if you don't know, he's a YouTuber who was always kind of like anti-woke YouTuber, but then all of a sudden he got pressed on stuff, and then he was just like full trans the kids. And he was just kind of joking about how like the guy's just gonna always like default back to, and then he starts spouting all these hard whatever. Are they hard right wing? I mean, he's just pro hard America. Like, what would you call this? That's one of the problems with like the conservatives, right? Is they can't just be like summed up in like one single like little thing, because Sam Hyde is not the same as the theory cells, and he's not the same. And the theory cells aren't all the same. Like some of them are hard Christians, some of them are atheists, some of them are weird pagans, and
he speaks like a normal fucking person,
yeah.
which is nice.
But given like saying Moist, these are Moist Critical's ideas. It's just so funny. It's just like pinning it all on him.
Glad I caught you. Glad I got you there. Elon Musk. By the way, please don't watch this if you're not Elon Musk, okay? This is a one-off video that we're doing. This is private, personal. I put this in his email. I don't know how you got this, unless you're on the Asmongold Gold Discord server, in which case you know my every move, okay? Me and Asmongold Gold have been planning this for a while now. Moist Critical's involved. And I guess if you're on the Moist Critical Discord server, you would have access to this file. So kudos to you, hacker. I don't think anyone's going to watch this. And listen, I know as a comedian, first and foremost, I don't expect people to take me seriously, but it is a fact that shitposting and public opinion are now intermingled permanently, and it's not going anywhere. And that's just the way it is. I get all my news from memes, basically. That's how I get my news. Is that how you get your news?
I think that's a pretty good point. I think I get most of my news from memes myself.
Public opinion and
one of those guys, like it. I mean, I don't know. Like, God bless him if anybody can get away with it. But like, because somebody told me about him, and like I started watching him a little bit, and then I realized like, you don't do any content. He's one of those guys like South Park makes fun of is guys who just comment on comments. Yeah, like that's it. And it's like, how the hell do you have millions of fucking views? And he just sits in his bedroom with his hairdo, and like it's just kind of weird, but it's a little.
We're trying to do it. We only have 300.
Well, we're not monetized.
How would you even get the news if you weren't looking at memes? You watch a show? That's even more fucking retarded. You turn it off. It's a smart thermostat, so it's going to take 15 minutes to figure out how that fucking thing works. It's very intuitive. I don't know why the Nest thermostat is taking you so long to learn and intuit. Okay, a toddler can figure this out. A toddler on an iPad can figure out how to use the Nest thermostat. That's Chris Lynch, by the way, Elon. Do not hire him, okay? He's leaving this job very soon. See, he's white. He's too lazy. Chris, you're so lazy and white. Well, yeah. You guys should have studied violin harder as kids. I swear to God, Vivek could figure this out by now. I want to believe that Elon is one of the great men.
You got to study the violin harder.
that Vivek tweet was hilarious to me.
We covered it last week and not very closely, but
I wanted to bully him so bad because of that. Because I know what it's just coming from a place of seething about the jocks. And I don't know if we talked about it last week or if I just talked about it in the chat, but that
we brought up like Screech, that like Screech is.
But I watched the video because he talked about Screech, how we glorify Zach Morris and shit on Screech, And then
Mhm.
somebody pointed out, I had never really watched Saved by the Bell. Somebody pointed out
Screech isn't
in the
smart.
video. Yeah, and somebody pointed out in the video, like there's an episode where they go to take their ACT test, and Zach Morris scores like genius level, and Screech just scores straight midwit.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
the thing is, the show is never different than that. The show never once tried to paint Screech as the intelligent dude, which is
really.
like, yeah, he wasn't.
Maybe Vivek never watched it. I don't know, because like the thing that I learn more and this is cosmically unfair, but the thing I learn more in life is that people who are you want the person who is socially retarded to have some sort of an edge on the people who are socially intelligent and good looking or whatever, but like they so rarely do. Like it's like this RPG brain where they're like, okay, this guy's got all of it on physical, but he's probably dumb. He's probably, it was like how we were talking about you, that one lady who like really wants to think that you're stupid just because
Yeah, no, my big
just
sister
because
met,
you're
my big sister met Chris once. He came to breakfast once, and my sister came to breakfast once. And then later on, like I mentioned him, and she's like, "That meathead?" I'm like, I just laughed, like, you have no fucking idea how fucking brilliant that guy is and what he knows and what he's studied. Like, but like literally he's got big muscles. So my sister's like, "Oh, he's dumb." Like that's how sophisticated she was.
well, I've had that vengeful, side of me before when there's like this really like popular dude who was a big douchebag or whatever, and I really wanted him to be dumb, and then all of a sudden I get to know him a little bit, and I was like, oh, this guy's not stupid. Like, and it's just there's this nerd brain thing where you want the cosmic scales to be balanced, and you want for him to be stupid and you to be smart, but usually the people who are good looking, go-getters, and even athletic are smarter on average.
Well, it's kind of across the board. The big dumb guys are out there too.
Yeah, they're there.
I mean, Ross the boss died earlier this year, but he was my first boss when I was a kid, and he like was raised on a farm in Idaho, and he talked and sounded like a dumb guy, but he was doing the brilliant Norm Macdonald thing,
Yeah.
where he played dumb to his advantage, where he just let people think he was dumb when really, like, he spoke 2 languages, he was a world traveler, he taught history, he had degrees, he was a brilliant fucking guy, but he just let everybody think he was dumb, and it was brilliant. It was so smart of him to do that.
So part of why I ever read so much, because I had it counted out like in college that I was reading something like 17 books a week or something like that, but I had to, and it was all I was doing all day. But I had that thing of thinking because I was the jock in high school and didn't do the reading, I had to catch up. And I think Dan McClellan actually even explained this too, that like when he went to Mormon, like when he went on a mission, he figured all the other missionaries out there had read all the stuff and he had to catch up to them. So he read and read. And then before he knew it, he was way ahead of all of them. He didn't realize he was that quickly way ahead of all of them. And the same thing happened to me in literature and graduate school at the U. Like I thought I had to catch up, and thinking I had to catch up just put me ahead of them. And that's really it, because it just turned out that they didn't read that much. And most of what they did read was, maybe they did, like they could say they were book nerds, but they mostly read smutty romance novels and stuff. Like they weren't like diving deep into philosophy and all that sorts of stuff. They like nerds were nerds, just like Screech is the proper nerd, because Screech was nerdy, but it didn't mean that he focused on smart, Big Bang Theory ideas like those guys supposedly do in that show. But
Like you read a lot, but if it's just comic books, that's not saying that much.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. Anytime, like, like a few years ago, I really wanted to be able to argue things with people. And so it was like when Kendi and D'Angelo were really big, I was like, I got to read their books, because like people kept arguing with me about him, and I knew enough about him to be like, I know this is bullshit. And they would tell me that, oh, you haven't even read it or whatever. And then I went and read their books, and I came back and talked to these people, and you talk to them for like a half a second, and you're like, wait a minute, you didn't read this. Like
you
like
didn't read it either.
This woman I was arguing with about it, she told me that Kendi was brilliant, and I was like, I think he's actually stupid. And she's like, what's your problem with the whole anti-racism thing? I was like, well, it's racist. That's my main problem with it, is that it's racist. And I give her that quote, that like the most well-known Kendi quote, the whole, you you have to fight past discrimination with present
Yeah,
discrimination.
the
Like,
remedy to past discrimination is future discrimination.
yeah, and like that is a racist thing to say, and she hadn't
Yeah.
heard that. Like, how
He
have you
didn't
not
know he
heard
said
this?
it.
Yeah.
It's on like page 258 of his book.
Yeah. But I mean, that's really all it ever was, to be head and shoulders above the rest, which is kind of one of the arguments of this video from Sam Hyde, because one of the things he's arguing in this is like, bullshit, the Indians are some like, you know, mega brilliant creator world that we need to go bring them all here. Like if we turn the US into Calcutta, we're going to suddenly have all the brilliant people in the world here. I think Jared said, and looked it up because Sam Hyde brought it up and some others, that on average their IQ is 75, which is a little, yeah, which that doesn't mean, you know, we get what the bell curve means. Any Indian, I think Vivek Ramaswamy for a minute was one of my favorite candidates, probably the person I would have voted for. Like I have no problem with anybody of any race, and don't think any race couldn't just be suddenly the most brilliant guy ever when I met them and it turned out they were brilliant. I don't think a nerd, when I meet them, is brilliant or not brilliant until they show me they are brilliant. I don't think a jock is brilliant or not brilliant until they show me he's brilliant. I don't meet a black guy and think that the guy's good or bad or whatever until he shows me what he is. You know, it's you know, the thing we used to talk about in the US. It's you judge a person.
Individualism, huh?
Yeah. I guess Sam Hyde makes a crack on that though.
Of our age, and that he has what it takes to become a 21st century Andrew Carnegie. I think it's important to have great men to look up to. Trump, Joe Rogan, there it goes, Elon, Tucker, and it's not necessarily important that our great men are perfect, but they're symbols of what we could be.
The one thing in this video where it's like subtle, brilliant comedy, because I've only I literally watched like 90 seconds of it, just kind of skipping through. But the thing where he's got like 6 different cameras,
I know.
Yeah,
that's subtle brilliance, like all of the cameras, because like it's smart, stupid. It's that.
No.
It's that
Sam
perfect
Hyde. Sam Hyde is comedically brilliant.
Sam Hyde's a genius. Oh yes, and even like his saying "great men," that list of great men there was tongue in cheek, but you have to like notice, and it's not tongue in cheek, and it is tongue in cheek. It's that meta irony that those guys do. He's like, we need great men, and then he lists off the great men, and he's kind of like, yeah, well, yeah, and yeah, and yeah. You know, he's not. You know.
Those whole things, like, I mean, he's wearing that like frock coat and slacks with his stupid haircut.
He's dressed like somebody who's taking himself too seriously.
Yeah, and he's got a mid-century modern chair. Like, it's all calculated to look stupid. It's really amazing.
You're getting Sam Hyde, and this is ultimately kind of like one of my general questions of the whole entirety of. It's back to that thing that Bogosian and those guys talked about NPR, that you get these experts who tell you what the right is, and like, you don't even know. You don't even have the slightest clue. You don't know all the different factions and all the different arguments, all the different brilliant people, dumb people, idiots, racists that are racist, like over and like that far right, and then people who aren't that way. They're a little bit more thought out, but there's hilarious people, and there's people who are trolling, like the 4chan idea. Like, there's people who are trolling you on this autistic level that you guys just don't even grasp. And especially like when I look at the ex-Mormon community, it feels a little bit like you guys don't even know the jungle that's out there. You don't even know. You just go, the boogeyman. Even if they're your boogeyman, you could learn what they are.
In LDS Uncensored, somebody talking about like just praising Natasha Helfer as a thinker, and I'm just like, oh God. Like, you are so easily impressed if you think that that's something interesting.
Other than masturbation is great and should just be done unobstructed all the time, what thoughts does Natasha have?
Well, in the RFM Christmas special, she turned Jingle Bells into a sexy song.
Oh, no, she didn't.
She did.
She doesn't turn things into sexy things. It's not actually possible.
Also, do you, in that RFM special, do you know how many people, including Bill Reel, gave us ChatGPT poems? Like, what are you guys doing? You know, every single one of them, like, here's a ChatGPT poem for you, like, and a story from ChatGPT. Even Anthony Miller gave a story from ChatGPT. Like, why are you guys doing that?
Wait, like they're supposed to be like heartwarming or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They all did like Chat GPT stories. Like here's like we could have just like typed in Chat GPT story Christmas stories ourselves.
So it makes me think of I'm sure you've had this friend several times over, where like you and Guy B are talking about a band or a song or whatever, and you'll be like, "Hey, you ever heard of I don't know?" Like I'm talking to my wife, "Hey, you ever heard of Wilco?" And she'd be like, "No, I haven't." But like this and this and this, these songs are really great. And then Chris is over there with Flip, and they're like, "I showed you them. I showed you them.
Oh yeah,
I did.
yeah.
I did." Like I've had those friends so many times before where they immediately just jump down your throat as soon as oh yeah, my bad. I'm sorry I didn't give you credit for the music of Wilco.
You know, it's funny.
this
Like
feels
You
this
can you can
AI
tell that
bring
Flip
that up,
is you can tell Flip is not that because I talk about Wilco as my favorite band, and Flip showed me them. Flip showed me them.
no, like I actually like this a few years ago. Our friend McQuillan, like he texted me like I don't talk to him much. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he messaged me like, "Hey man, my job gave me tickets to the Wilco show at Red Butte, and so I figured I'd bring you." And I'm like, "Well, gosh, man, that's really nice. Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Don't you remember? You introduced me to Wilco." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't remember." But like, well, that worked out for me because I got to go see the concert. But like, yeah, like if he had never said that, I would just been like, "Oh, okay, like dude's into Wilco," but I fucking forgot.
I've had conversations with people where there's like multiple iterations of that and it becomes just a feedback loop where like 8 different guys are trying to figure out who showed who first the band. And I'm like, none of you wrote this shit. Thanks for showing me Wilco. I like them. They're good. But you didn't write the songs.
Yeah, like yeah, no, like I'm part of the band because
That feels like what that just feels like bragging about it. I don't know, a Chat GPT poem, like to a heartfelt story. Somebody's like, "Hey, make me feel good inside from your heart." Like, hang on a sec.
like there's one thing where when I was like where I feel like I was prescient, which was like way back in the 90s and back when X96 was still kind of an indie radio station. And they played this band and I was like, this is a new sound. I haven't heard anything like this before. And it was this band called No Doubt. And they played a couple songs and I'm like, this is interesting. And then I went to the media play and I bought the record. And I went home and I listened to it and I'm like, gosh, yeah, this is kind of good. And then there's a song came on and the song was called Don't Speak. And I thought like, man, this is kind of sugary and sappy, but man, this could be a hit if it got a little traction. And this was like 6 months before. And like 6 months later, I'm like, I felt like an asshole, even though I didn't even say it to anybody. I'm like, God damn it. Because I couldn't get away from that fucking song. But I'm like, well, at least I was able to pick one horse in my life. You know? I was like I wish I had like put like if there'd been an option to put money on will Don't Speak become a giant crossover hit that is on every fucking radio station, but I didn't get that chance. But that's the thing is like I was also kind of annoyed because like, you know, like if No Doubt hadn't turned into the gigantic success that they were, I'd probably still listen to that record every once in a while. But now I feel like I never need to hear that record ever again for as long as I live because of the radio in the 90s.
You know, she's getting baptized like
Oh
Christian.
wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Really?
she's going
Yeah.
Christian?
Yeah, she is.
That's like is she I
That's so
guess she doesn't
punk.
need her career anymore, right? She's made all the money she'll ever need.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know if she goes on the Christian circuit. Can you imagine? She could take over for Brett Cooper on Daily Wire.
Oh God.
I don't know. I've only seen a couple of like blurbs, but apparently the Brett Cooper clone that they hand selected to take the role is flopping bad. I don't know.
Morgan was a fan of Brett Cooper. I never really watched her. It's just not really my style of video to watch, right? But we went back and looked. I was like looking at her numbers. She was doing better numbers than Ben Shapiro almost all the time. Like she was getting huge. And the woman that replaced her was like her maid of honor at her wedding. They were like best friends apparently.
Yeah.
And so there's all this talk that there was some backstabbing or whatever, and who knows, because there's always NDAs, but there were some people like this is a stupid gossip. I'm so mad I know this. There were some people that like noticed in like large comment threads, people who are saying that this whatever her name is that stabbed, like, oh, she stabbed Brett Cooper in the back, and then Brett Cooper's mom is like liking those comments. So like, oh, there's probably some truth to that. I don't know, but it is disconcerting when you see her on there. You're like, oh man, they made you like. I guess if you're gonna take over that show, like you're gonna probably maybe somewhat imitate the person anyway. But it's like creepy, like Uncanny Valley type shit watching her.
Yeah, I don't know that they should have coached her to be just like the other person, but
Well,
Yeah, no,
I
it's a
think,
little
I think
weird
they kind
that-
of understood that it's their intellectual property, right? But nobody, none of the fans are there for the comments section video. They're there for Brett Cooper. Like if suddenly I took over the Ben Shapiro show, nobody's going to be watching it.
mm,
And I can't be like, well, why aren't you watching it? It's still the Ben Shapiro show.
yeah. Man, I done lost my Twitter login. I guess I got to start Twitter all over.
Maybe you got booted. Did you see old the OG racist Jared Taylor got back on?
Oh yeah, some people were saying it was a psyop because he immediately had tens of thousands of followers, but I don't know. That guy might have that many followers these days. But
Brett Cooper replacement.
you haven't seen her. Natasha's Christmas song made me realize that I still have a lot of Mormon prudishness left in me. I found it distastefully vulgar.
It's just the Overton window for what is prudishness is so crazy out of whack right now. I mean, I
Yeah.
talked about it last week. I got booted from that group for incest shaming. Don't yuck anybody's yum. If your yum is wanting to fuck your mom or your sister, I feel like I can yuck it. I feel like maybe I have a moral obligation to yuck that yum.
Oh, jeez. That's right. We need to talk about that.
Which one?
Because wasn't the whole thing because Jared was just observing in the Mormon geek section where somebody's like what's up with all the incest porn, and then somebody's like, yeah, I think that's pretty yuck, and then somebody comes in and is like, well, it's not okay to yuck someone else's yum. It's like, no, that's okay.
No, that's all I said. Is like, look, when it comes to incest, I'm not a prude, but I feel like I'm gonna yuck that yum, and I immediately got like briefly kicked out with the note on there saying we don't kink shame in here. Like,
Kink shame.
well,
And
we
there's a-
should.
there's a wonderful Squidbillies scene about that where they're talking about incest, and because it's the sheriff and Denny, and sheriff goes like, well, the heart wants what the heart wants, and Denny goes, the heart ain't supposed to want that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh shit.
You ready for this?
No.
Great song.
Oh,
but
God.
I'm going to give you my version of Jingle Bells. You all ready? But I'm not a good singer,
I know.
so you
No
have
way.
to just put up with that. But because you've had some good singers, I've been listening.
We know how
All
the
right.
tune goes. We're just
All
wanting
right,
to
here
hear
we
the
go.
words. I know.
All right, I'm ready. Soaking in the snow on a one-horse pony sleigh. To the bunny ranch we go, squirting all the way. Ha, ha, ha. Balls
Oh,
with
God.
tight cock rings.
Honestly,
making spirit.
I'm more comedically offended than anything.
It's all bad. It's all
Like
really
it's
bad.
gross and it's making me cringe, and like I don't want to ever hear Natasha say squirting ever again. but also I'm like,
Wording.
this is just not good. It's like you threw it together at the last second.
We're making
Well,
people
like,
sick
one of
out
those,
there.
Heads I win, tails you lose things about
The comments are coming in.
Oh, man. But because the whole thing is like, where they're like when somebody's like, well, I just feel like this type of sexuality is not good for civilization or for personal emotional mental relationship well-being, and they say like, it's private. Why are you? It's people's sexual lives. It's about privacy. And then Natasha Helfer is like, no, I'm gonna sing a fucking dumb song about it all, and and just blast it all out there. It's like, well, which is it? Is it something you're supposed to keep to your fucking self, or is it something you're supposed to display out for everyone? It's heads I win, tails you lose. That's what it is.
Like,
It's
I'm
whatever
listening-
you want in the moment.
I'm listening to her sing this, and I'm like, man, how young would I have to be before I laughed at this? You know, like, in third grade, would I have laughed at it? Like if my friend's like dashing through the cum in a one-horse open gay.
I'm sure we did those songs back in the day. I remember in fourth grade getting tired of my friends comparing every single thing to a dick. And I was like, I got the sense of humor too and all that, guys, but come on, is everything a dick? Come on.
There was a dude at work that was always trying to do that. Like somebody had brought like just a jar of peanuts and be like, hey guys, I got some peanuts if you guys want some. And then the guy in the corner like, huh, you like nuts? And they're like, yes, we do. And he's like, oh, you wanna grab the nuts? I'm like, Troy, we know that this is an innuendo, but it's not very funny.
You know, in the back before Rick and Morty got bad, there's the Werner Herzog guest spot. You remember that one? When the whole scene where on the alien hospital, in order to save the most important man's life in the world, Jerry just has to give up his penis. And there's the character played by Werner Herzog. I've been to the Earth planet. They think that everything is funny. I've seen them hold anything out in front of them and say, "Look at my such and such ding dong." Like, they really hit the nail on the head with that, especially by having Werner Herzog do it. I was like, yeah, no, we get it. It gets old after a while. Natasha saying "Squirt should be outlawed."
Yeah,
Indeed.
it should. Jesus, man.
I don't, and I guess this is part of the same subject that's still ongoing with Blake Lively and that director, because it's turned into an eternal battle back and forth of,
They've countersued each other for libel.
yeah, is the guy actually a male feminist rapist? And all the Twitter thinkers who are like, every male feminist like that is like that, and of course they're male feminists saying that. And or is it the Blake Lively saying, no, he's totally me too. And the deal is, like, if I get around people who are like that, I'll be like, I'm gonna go ahead and not laugh at any of your dirty jokes, okay? Is that all right? Like, I'm not gonna play along with any of this. Thanks a whole lot.
Right. What fun it is to ride and swing this wet strip pool tonight. Oh, ring my bell, ring my bell, ring it all the way. Oh, what fun it is to fuck on a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, ring my bell.
I love
ring
Natasha.
my
She's got
bell,
that.
Ring it all the way. Oh, what fun it is to fuck on a one-horse open sleigh. Yay! Merry Christmas, everybody.
But she's already been excommunicated, right?
Yeah.
Can they like re-excommunicate her?
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this to who would be her bishop and say, can you like just give her blessings back briefly, just to take them away?
Like, who was the guy? There was some
Make an
guy,
example out of her.
like in medieval English times, where like they would execute a guy, and then years later dig him up, cut him up, and then like move his body parts to 4 different corners of the, like, just to hammer home the disgrace. Like, there needs to be that version of excommunication for Natasha Helfer.
Here's a look. Anthony Miller's nice dude. He's a nice dude.
He's nice. He's
just one of the examples of, like, here's a Chat GPT poem.
Those things. Yeah, and I want to end with a poem. Not that I wrote. I asked Chat GTP to help me. I wanted to take The Dark Night of the Soul and add more meaning to it.
I won't make any more fun of it. It's just like we could go make a poem on ChatGPT, like, and a bunch of people did that. Like, a lot of them did.
Like, cause yeah, Anthony really is like the king of normies. Cause like he was one guy that, like, cause there are a lot of people, like, you know, when Maven does it, I know that Maven is actively gaslighting. But with Anthony, I really wonder. But like, cause, you know, I said something about you know, on a comment in LDS Uncensored, where, you know, like, I said, like, if an ordinary woman accuses her husband of abuse, I take it at face value and reserve judgment until I have real evidence. But if a feminist says it, then, like, I have, you know, I trust a feminist talking about men exactly the same as I trust a Nazi talking about Jews. And Anthony pulled the, like, but feminism is just about equality. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
You're gonna
No,
feel like You're gonna feel like a real asshole at one time that like a Jew was actually being like a huge dick and abusive to a Nazi, and you didn't listen to him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You didn't believe all Nazis.
Hashtag believe not.
I was telling you, he was abusing me. He was very toxic to me.
But this is-
Well,
so like,
listen,
I remember
you-
way back
you're-
when. I remember when I was a kid and talking to my dad about like what the fuck up with Nazis and anti-Semitism, and like my dad told the story that he heard from his great grandparents about how like the crooked Jewish banker screwed them out of their farm, and and my dad wasn't like to say this like, and this is how they all are. He just used it as an example of like, well, no, like if something, there are shitty Jews and they do shitty things, and if one does something to you, it's very easy to get caught up in that. Like, that was the lesson that my dad was teaching me. But like, I just remember him saying like, oh, okay. So like, I can understand that, like, which also like, I mean, we've talked about it before, the whole thing about black rappers and like the hip hop musicians and like their experience with Jewish record producers.
Oh yeah.
Like that whole thing where it's like, well, no, like I can understand, like it's irrational, but if you can take that thing and extrapolate it into a fucking hate movement, sure.
Yeah, we've
Like,
kind of
that's literally what Maven does. Like,
I know.
like,
We've kind of overcorrected on the whole anti-Semitism thing because now you can't even basically admit that there are shitty Jews in existence.
the only guy is Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's the only guy who says a lot of Jews are schmuck.
Yeah,
says
he
it?
does say that. Yeah, he's
No, he says it all the time. He's like, I'm a Jew, but a lot of Jews are stupid. I mean, I don't think he says like they're evil and they steal people's farms.
no. He just it's the individualism thing,
I didn't know he even ever said that.
No.
I've heard him say it a lot. Yeah, that a lot of Jews are schmucks. But
Which brings up the main subject I want to get onto tonight. Although I was
The
going to go a
Jewish
bit longer.
question.
The Jewish question, which we've been waiting to get to this since we started, and we're finally here.
off.
Wow.
oh my god, I just again this week on NPR, it's like amazing that like the most anti-Semitic place on earth today is the comment section of NPR. Like I can't believe just how naked. Like,
Oh, TikTok is completely.
is it like because they're
Yeah,
Netanyahu
because-
created Hamas?
Yeah, from the left completely hate. Like I saw some lady who's going around and doxing people because they're Zios. It's okay to dox a Zio, and she calls everybody a Zio.
Wow. Yeah, no, like I mean, this whole idea, like I like this whole idea that like Israel is apartheid. I'm like, their constitution guarantees equal rights for everyone. That's like the literal opposite of apartheid, but they keep insisting that's apartheid. Meanwhile, like there are no Jews in Palestine, like none. But we have to stop Israel from creating a
Why not though?
monoethnic
Why don't any Jews want to go get like a nice summer home in Palestine? Why wouldn't they want to
Gaza is
see
nice.
new places, travel new things, experience multiculturalism?
No, like it's funny. Like there's articles about like the last Jew in Yemen. Like they know his name.
Oh God!
Like he's a guy, and like he's just holding out. But like there used to be hundreds of thousands of Jews in Yemen, and now there's like the one guy.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Before we get too far off of this, let's listen to. I mean, I guess this is a comical one. Maybe it's an okay. Oh, look, there's Culture Hall commenting. Thanks again for getting me earlier, fellas. I appreciate it. Culture Hall made a song with Feliz Navidad, and it was Release Iron Rod. I thought it was actually pretty funny. Like it wasn't like too intense. It's just Release Iron Rod. It's the whole thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I asked ChatGPT because a couple of people did "Twas the Night Before Christmas," so I thought it wasn't going to be a great night for that anyway, since it had already been done several times. But "Twas the Night Before Christmas." But I asked ChatGPT to take it and give a Joseph Smith sort of polygamy kind of theme to it. And
so I mean, just ChatGPT makes polygamy. I mean, it makes it in 2 seconds. I could go to ChatGPT and have it make another one now, but. I declare ex-Mormon world. I declare right here, no ChatGPT in the Christmas special next year. No ChatGPT. We can all do the ChatGPT.
when like I wrote Morgan's fat activist birthday song while I took a shower,
Yeah, I remember
and it
that.
was as good as ChatGPT. Like, come on, guys, just have some imagination.
I tried to get Chat GPT to write a couple of ad reads for us at the beginning, but it's too much of a pussy.
It won't do
Yeah,
anything
no,
for
that's
you.
the other thing. I won't do anything. Yeah.
Go to
When are they
Grok,
going to
man,
release
Grok.
not woke AI? Like, has somebody jailbroken AI so that
Well,
it
so there
has
was,
a sense of humor?
I don't know, did you see? I didn't watch the whole thing, but Elon Musk last time he was on Rogan, he was bragging about how Grok isn't woke. And then like they ask it like one question, and it says something about how I try to not be culturally insensitive, and Elon Musk, he's like, "Well, fuck, we'll have to fix that."
Yeah.
I'll give you culturally insensitive, you piece of shit.
No, I was going to. I mean, there's still more to, I guess, to talk about as far as the MAGA versus Trump stuff goes. But we can also get off that subject because there's a far more pressing issue about. It's kind of like Jewish oppression.
Oh boy! Oh god damn it!
That's why this one is called bigotry, because it's all about bigotry. We wanted to talk about type 1 and type 2 errors of what is bigotry and not
Are you
bigotry.
talking about Ward radios?
What? How'd you get there?
I actually listen. I would listen to almost all of that. It's just like, oh my god, you guys. But also just like, I mean, the naked hypocrisy. Like, I don't know. I didn't clip them. I can't quote them, but there's so many times when Cardin's like these people disparage other people for their beliefs. Like, you fucking piece of shit, Cardin. You fucking hypocritical lying piece of shit. That's half of your whole show is shitting on non-Mormon doctrine and how shitty and stupid it is. And like, oh, do you even read your Bibles? That's a thing Cardin says a lot. Like, oh my god. Yeah. Then because there's also this is slightly related to Jacob Hansen's "the one question all Christians must," all capital letters, must answer. And Riso's like, yeah, I answered it. Not that Jacob's going to pay any fucking attention, but like, did you watch that one too? Sorry, I'm getting it off track, but
Well, I was just gonna go click on them, but I mean, I guess I have some shorts from them or not. But I mean, it just keeps coming up again and again. But I guess Cardin and Luke did an entire half hour on Mormon bigotry.
Oh man, hang on. Chat GPT wrote me a Brown Sheet Jingle Bells parody,
Oh, let's hear it.
and it's worse.
so
It's
excited.
not grosser than Natasha's. It's just seriously. It's verse 1: dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, over the fields we go, having naughty fun all day. You change one line.
I don't think
That's
it's.
not good
I
at
don't think
all.
it's
That's
gonna
like
go
standard.
hardcore on you, man.
Jingle bells, Santa's got a naughty surprise, dashing through the snow with Mrs. Claus in his eyes. Doesn't even rhythmically fit. Jesus Christ.
Terrible.
It
Jeez.
says, disclaimer, this is a humorous parody and should not be taken literally. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, make me a new religion. Alrighty.
Well, let's just take a look at those shorts that they're sharing real quick.
Wait, Cardin has a YouTube channel that's just Word Radio, but for pest control.
Apparently, the X-Mormon subreddit is the most active and lucrative subreddit
No
on
kidding.
the Reddit platform. That's why
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
all of the.
Where are they getting that?
I don't know.
Where are they getting that? That can't be true.
I mean, so it grew pretty fucking quickly. I think when I got on there the first time, it had like they were excited because they got up to 20,000, but I think they're like now at 200,000 or something, which is still not. There's no way that's the most lucrative.
Of those bigoted things.
Wow.
That if said about Jews would be considered anti-Semitic, but they make so much money off the advertising from the subreddit that subreddit actually kind of babies that Reddit actually kind of babies the Ex-Mormon subreddit.
And the Ex-Mormon subreddit also feeds other subreddits. For instance, we've seen the correlative data that shows that as the Ex-Mormon subreddit grows, so do the subreddits like /yif, /furry. Those also grow at the exact same rate. So you shut one down.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's funny clowning on that, but I don't.
misrepresenting it for the purposes of portraying us as stupid or culty.
So this isn't just a launch.
Okay. So Carton, we usually give crap for. I mean, I think he says it here. I'm sure he does, but he said one off in like 20 different episodes that any sort of criticism of Mormonism is Mein Kampf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Luke here gives kind of like a list of how you can recognize what's actual bigotry versus what's not bigotry. And I don't know that his definitions hold water very well.
No way.
I don't know if it's lack of intelligence or if it's pride. I don't know what it is.
Advocating for social ostracization outside religious disagreements. What? Notice that they're not pointing out any conflicts or any specifics. It's just the fact that the Mormons are.
In this line somewhere, you can really call what you're doing evangelization if it's so easily taken for harassment.
I can't have that music for very long. All right.
I know.
In the studio by Luke Hansen. Luke Hansen, editor-in-chief of Ward Radio News and Answer the Public, a common website that encourages YouTubers to answer questions about the public, says that how-to videos are some of the most successful. Well, Luke here, in the spirit of answering the public, has offered a tutorial, if you will, for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on how to spot in the wild. We can go looking for anti-Mormon bigotry. Can it be spotted in the wild? What do they look like?
I think nobody's better situated than us to call balls and strikes on this, because we have defended that there actually is bigotry in the world for religious people.
Oh, yeah.
And we've mentioned many times before that Flip's basically been kicked off of every ex-Mormon Facebook thing ever by telling people that they're being bigoted and telling them what the actual definition of bigotry is. But that's when they're being bigoted, not when they're not being bigoted. But I don't think they give every example here. But
can you recognize it? Oh, crikey, that's a big bigotry. Yeah, it's a big bigot. Look at that, it's a big fat old bigot. Look at the old tail.
Yeah, so in this one, we're actually going to, two of these things are things we've seen before. Because usually we do debunking videos, and then the bigotry kind of pops up as we're going through it, but usually it's in the context of a debunking video. So in this video, I just want to look specifically at what I see as 3 different types of bigotry that are out there, and use clips and then a tweet that we haven't looked at yet, but mostly clips that we've looked at before in some of our bigger videos, and point out 3 different types. Okay?
Before we hear his 3 types, can we give a type of what is actual bigotry to the LDS?
Bigotry against Mormons?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mormons worship the devil because Jesus is wrong.
That's bigotry.
I don't know. You don't hire a guy because he's Mormon. That feels
that's
shitty.
That's for clear bigotry. Yeah,
that's against the Civil Rights Act, and that's something that Flip and I got in a huge argument with people.
That's how I got thrown out as Mormon for that. Yeah,
ex-Mormon Facebook telling them somebody said they weren't going to hire some people, or they immediately throw out the resumes when they see that they're LDS. And I told them, as an HR director, you cannot do that. I'm sorry, you can't do that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you can actually do it all day long. You can't brag about it publicly.
Yeah, that's massively stupid.
Like that,
because if you hadn't bragged about it publicly, you would have had some plausible deniability of well, they just so happen to not be the best qualified candidates.
But now, anybody who didn't get a job at your company has to do is screenshot this statement, and their lawsuit goes through.
Yeah, and the person who said it ended up DMing me saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know," all that sorts of stuff, because she recognized that she made a boo-boo. But
all right.
So the first one,
after the whole rest of the ex-Mormon page went off on Flip and I for 2-3 days for saying you can't.
It was 3 days. And literally, it's not bigotry to make fun of Mormons because they really are all stupid. Literally, they really are all stupid. So it's not bigotry to call them stupid because they literally are all stupid. That's not big. It's just okay, no, that is bigotry.
All right, let's do black people next. Oh wait, you can't say. And I'm often shocked how we realize that you can't. How does that not immediately run through your head when you say a shitty thing about a group of people? Saying it just replacing the group of people with other groups of people, and be oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't say that, because my thing is, if you are a business owner and you see that a guy's Mormon, you're I don't want to deal with a Mormon, I won't hire him. I think you're probably an asshole for doing that, but whatever, go for it. Yeah, it's probably illegal or whatever. I know it's illegal, but I'll just call you an asshole. But also, I'm just going to call the guy an asshole who refuses to bake a cake for a gay wedding. I'm not going to come after him legally either. And you guys are a little bit lopsided there.
Yeah. I brought up the
other thing, because that's the thing about the cake guy. The cake guy even said, I'll make your cake, and then you can put the message on, or you can hire somebody else to fucking put the frosting on.
Yeah,
Like,
you can buy any one of my pre-made cakes.
like you can buy any of my pre-made cakes, any of that. Like, just like, no, I just won't.
Don't force me to make
Don't
the
force me
message.
to celebrate your gay wedding.
Mm.
You know.
I mentioned on here that I had a friend come around this summer who grew up in Utah, had been around Utah for a long time, and when he was here, he was really glomming on to these guys all thought I was a sex pervert, and they're all sex perverts. I know they're all sex perverts. Every single one of them are all sex perverts. And he went off on it so much, like for the couple of days, that by the end of it, I said, "Dude, you know, you grew up, you went to high school with all these guys. Do you know how many times I heard them muse about how you must be a sex pervert?" You know, 0 times. I didn't hear them one time. Do you know how many times I've heard you say it's probably true of them? Many, 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 many times.
Well, no, I think I remember. Here's a good example. I probably told this story a bunch on here already, but I remember when I was working in the theater in high school, one of the other theater kids comes and is talking to me. He's like, "Yeah, I got a new tattoo. You want to see it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." We're just in the break room. He pulls his sleeve up, and it's just the most redneck tattoo possible. It's the Grim Reaper, and it's flipping you off, and it says, "Judge this," and he's like, "It's because I don't like being judged." And I was like, "Oh, thanks for explaining it to me, Clint." And he's like, "Yeah, Mormons are really judgmental." And I was like, "Wow, that's a very judgmental thing to say, Clint." And he's like, "Well, not you. You're one of the good ones." Or what? I was like, "Yeah. What about Jamie?" He's like, "Nah, she's cool too." Like, "Oh yeah. What about Craig?" "No, yeah, Craig's cool too." And I named all of the fucking Mormons that we worked with, and turns out they were all the cool ones.
Yeah.
like I think one of our friends way back 20 years ago, because like about the same time that I became an atheist, left the church, became an atheist, like he basically abandoned God and became an atheist. And we were talking about this was 2004 atheism, and I remember he said something like, I hate religious people. And I just said, my mom is religious, you don't hate her, do you? And he went, oh, you're right. And he never brought it up again. He's like, that was all it took for him to go, okay. And like he snapped out of his anti-religious bigotry in that moment, But then like I think about the 10 million people I've argued with in the ex-Mormon thing, was like, oh, really? Really? You think all Mormons are bad, even all the good ones? And they will fucking die on that hill. Like they're just ready to fucking go.
We are not saying it all. This is one of the things I was ranting a little bit about. Like the world's just awash of type 1 and type 2 errors. And type 1 errors are like with pregnancy, you say someone, you are pregnant, and they aren't. And type 2 is you aren't pregnant, and they are. And the ex-Mormons are, there is all sorts of bigotry in there. And almost every single time Cardin points it out, he's wrong.
Oh god, it's always the dumbest, laziest shit too. We bring it up all the time, but his whole like, oh, they just think that the Book of Mormon couldn't have happened because they think the dumb brown people couldn't have been that tech savvy. No, that's
the reason.
There's just no evidence of it. Okay, you said they had transcontinental wooden submarines. That's a bold claim. All right.
Like the population dynamics don't work out. There's just so many things about it that don't make sense. Then also, like, I mean, because like, never mind all of the like nuts and bolts practical stuff. It's just like, it's a little bit weird that like an ancient Mesoamerican culture just happened to be completely in perfect agreement with American liberalism as enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Like, it's just weird. Like, I don't remember where it is because it's been so long. But even when I was a missionary, it kind of struck me where it's like, is it King Benjamin, or I don't know what it is. There's a whole scene that's basically an American civics lesson, but it takes place in the Book of Mormon. I'm like, okay, this is weird. This doesn't belong here.
King Benjamin,
King
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, exactly.
My fellow Nephites. We find these truths to be self-evident. No, I remember my seminary teacher at one point having like this big like testimony moment where he's like crying and talking as he's reading the Book of Mormon about it's the one that's Nephi prophesying about Christopher Columbus. And he's like, and this is just one of the many reasons why I know that this book is true beyond a shadow of a doubt. because how else would Nephi know about Christopher Columbus? And I'm like, full on Mormon 15-year-old kid still. And I was like, oh, hang on, but I don't think you're thinking this through very well. Like, you can't, like, I don't know. If I wrote about a guy from 6,000 years ago and he predicted 9/11, are you going to be like, oh my God, Jared's a prophet?
The Mr. Croissant Butcher comment, or just most recent comment, it's like, why are they so wrong to hurt?
Oh.
No,
Yeah,
no, that's the one. No, but like, because this is the thing, like, because I've been thinking about a lot, because like, like the whole feminist thing, like, teach men not to rape, and it's like, okay, I think there are some men that like need God and the Bible to tell them, like, you need to keep your impulses in check. Like, there's something I've realized in my life is that like some people they need their racism. They want it. It's their precious little toy that they want to hug and close to them. Like they really, really, really just want to have it, and like there's one of those things about like liberalism that like, no, we have to like enforce with the Bill of Rights. Like you can hold whatever thoughts you want in your head. You can hate anybody all day long in your head, but you can't deny them their basic rights under the Constitution. That's what you cannot do, And so like, just like, because I know there's like men and women, there's all kinds of people that have their rape fantasies. Like, hey, like you can have that in your head. You can keep that in your head all day and all night. You just can't let it out, And that's things I realize, like, it's like, because I'm an atheist, but like I realize now that like that is part of the role that religion plays, is putting those boundaries on people and everywhere. Because everybody has the thing that if somebody wasn't telling them not to do it and there wasn't societal risks to doing it, they'd be doing it. And racism is one of those things. Like I realize that people really, really, some people really, really, really need their racism and they just want it so bad. Which is why we need a Bill of Rights that says no.
Yeah. So there,
part of that whole MAGA thing is like, there are some people who really are in there saying we just don't want brown people here. That's real. That's not zero.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like an evolutionary aspect of it that, like, when we were in tribes and shit like that, it's the whole type 1 versus type 2 errors. If you commit the type 1 error of crossing the street when there's the black dude on this side of the road at night, then you did a racism, and he was probably perfectly harmless or whatever, but you did a racism, but now you're safe. Or there's the type 2 error of just keeping going straight, and then maybe 1 out of 150 times he kills you or something. And so it makes evolutionary sense to some degree to be a little bit tribalistic, but it's also just like bigotry takes a lot. This is going to be the gayest thing I've ever said. Bigotry takes a lot less thought and nuance and strain than like actually being an individualist. So these women, like I've talked to these like feminists online who talk about how awesome life would be, like what happens if all men disappeared, and like that would be amazing or whatever. And then I like do that thing that Flip was talking about, where I'm like, well, what about like your son? And like, well, I mean, he's the light of my life or whatever. Like, okay, see, your bigotry right there took a lot less thought and nuance than like actually thinking about it. It's more complicated to not be a bigot, because if you can just blanket accuse an entire group of people of something, you can sound like a big brain without actually having to put in the work to be even a little bit intelligible.
Well, I think that's why it's kind of the subject of the week, because there's so many things kind of like converging on the same thing. Like, for example, like look at this.
Naturally, one of the most controversial things on the internet today was none other than a Commanders player proposing to his girlfriend after last night's game.
So what was the bigotry of this proposal?
Is he on his knee?
Yeah, he's on his knee
and
proposing to this gal.
I mean, is that why it's bigoted? I don't know. Why is it bigoted?
No, what did the internet say about her?
He's a race traitor. That's actually a thing. That,
Wait, you don't think the internet said, "How is this white woman muddying her bloodline" or something like that?
I mean, I'm sure some of the internet did, but
the bigger part. What are the bigger parts?
bigger part would say, "Why is he dating a white woman?"
Yeah, mid white woman. And it went off.
People keep saying mid to describe very beautiful women. That's one of the weirdest phenomenons of the last 2 years on the internet.
Yeah, but the thing is like it does seem like there's some sort of reckoning of the whole Civil Rights Act happening right now. I mean, I even got into it with Forrest a little bit this week because you were asking about what changes if ex-Mormons viewed the Mormon Church just as a social club versus as a religion. And I said, well, maybe it would make sense that it's even more ridiculous to think that you have to go in and march in and force like the civil rights movement on them and their freedom of association or something like that if it's just a social club, because it's not talking about eternal salvation or something like that. And Forrest thought it's not ridiculous for them to still march in and make sure that as I've always joked, that a fraudulent pyramid scheme follows the EEOC, and as they would interpret it. But every single thing, like everything that's going on with Maga and that sort of stuff, and this, and even people trying to say what was terrorism or wasn't of the last couple of days, like the bombings, they're trying to say it wasn't terrorism. That guy who went and ran all the people over in New Orleans and all this stuff. And it was jihadi stuff, although it might have just had more to do with his personal issues as well. But because he was an American citizen, it's not terrorism, But they're like, wait, yeah, it was. I'm like, no, it isn't. And so every single thing's like kind of having a reckoning of what's bigotry and what isn't bigotry. And the Civil Rights Act, I heard the Lotus Eaters as they were complaining about James Lindsay again, but describe incorrectly that Civil Rights Act has codified that you can be racist against whites. And that is not true. The Civil Rights Act, sometimes it's interpreted that way poorly by idiots, right? But no, the Civil Rights Act says if you're making your decision based off of that, one way or the other, everybody's protected. Everybody's protected from your skin being a deciding factor in your employment. And that's what the Civil Rights Act says. It's colorblind to say it in the worst thing in the world that's going on. But that thing's been so gamed out. I mean, half of the stuff we're talking about is like how these things get gamed out, and every law gets gamed out. That's what Christopher Caldwell's book, The Age of Entitlement, is really about, is like the gaming of the Civil Rights Act.
And let this be a lesson to people in the public eye and others that you should probably avoid at all costs doing a very public proposal. Because if you don't, one of the greatest moments of your life may turn into public discourse, just like it did for Jeremy Reeves and his girlfriend. That video that the NFL tweeted out now has 47 million views. And if you know anything about the internet, I'm sure you can probably put two and two together why so many people are talking about this. That this is an interracial.
Except 50 years ago, it would have been the other way, right?
I know.
Racial couple. And for some reason in 2024, people are still up in flames about that on every side of the aisle. Here we have Julito, aka Lito, saying mid-YT woman, white, got the NFL on lock. Not mid, although she is dressed like The Rock. I'm not going to say she's mid. So tired of this, extremely tired. Yuck, says K. Smith. Don't think you need to really care about these individuals' love, but I get it. You're tired of this. If you go to the tweet and scroll down to the replies, Dr. Umar is everywhere. Now, I must say, this is a good meme. Have to pause this to recognize a good meme. She's not even a 5. She's just white. American footballers are cursed. YT people are also not a fan of this on Twitter. In all honesty, it just does not look right. Leonardo Joni tweeted out, "No amount of money will unruin your bloodline." Now, that is an awful thing to say, but I must say, Leonardo, your bloodline's already ruined.
This is a beautiful moment where racist blacks and racist whites are
Yes,
coming together to,
it's more horseshoe. It's more
to sing
horseshoe.
kumbaya. Like, there's a thing we agree on. No mixing our bloodlines with your disgusting spawn.
But the defenders of the critical race theory stuff, which everybody's starting to say that this MAGA stuff turning on Trump and Vivek is white MAGA people race theory, critical race theory, or something like that. But one of the horseshoe theories of the critical race theorists that nobody ever wants to talk about, it's one of the first things I started harping on ex-Mormons about who were trying to defend it, is that Derek Brown was just as against school integration as was the white supremacists. You know, it's a true horseshoe, just like you were talking about the Kennedy stuff. It's bigotry, you know. But I guess it gets laundered into academic language, and then it's all right. But maybe that's what the dissident right has figured out how to do. Back to discussing what is, well, I wanted to include in that, like that guy with the hat. Is that Nation of Islam, or is that like another thing?
I can't remember what it was, but
Some of the stuff, like we've talked a little bit here before about the weird beliefs of Nation of Islam, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same thing. Like I was asking Forrest, like, do you care about the bigotry of the Moonies, or do you care about the bigotry of Nixium? And well, John DeLynn thinks that Mormonism is a cult just the same, you know. And so why isn't he there marching for the equally distributed, diverse victimhood of the Mooney entrance? You know what I mean? Like, you need to victimize just as many people of each race and to not become bigots. And that's again something back to the Christopher Caldwell book of Age of Entitlement, which is just kind of says the sacrosanct, like the pure bottom line axiom of post-war boomer ideology is just this racism thing, you know, and it's not the bottom line axiom. You know, it's a good thing to get out of your life, but at the same time too, you get scrambled up. It's all scrambled. It's scrambled as shit.
Yeah.
Nothing's fixed. It's all scrambled. But I wanted to say, also think about like when Luke gives his descriptors here, if it fits, if you were talking about Nation of Islam people. Now I've seen Quaco be an apologist for Nation of Islam people, but is it bigotry to say that their beliefs are that white people were monkeys? And you know what I mean? Like, is that bigotry to point that out? You know,
Yes.
it's a religion.
Our old friend Lynn Wilder.
Oh,
And this is
correcting us.
And so what she's Mormon bigotry is social ostracization in non-religious settings. So like when they say you're not Christian or you shouldn't be included in these churches and stuff, that's bad and that is a form of bigotry, but it goes one step further when we're in a non-religious setting and they're still using the fact that we're Mormons to keep us out. It starts getting into like a segregation-esque type of territory. So let's roll the video and see how Lynn Wilder does this in this clip.
A lot of phone calls from Christian organizations.
Are there Mormon organizations that say it's just Mormons here?
I don't know. There might be, but in this one he talks about the homeschooling thing, where like the mainstream, like okay, so I think the Christians' main beef with Mormonism is really fucking stupid. Like a lot of the ones that I heard on the Christian radio when I was like right before my mission, like was that they believe that Satan and Jesus are brothers. I'm like, that's, who cares? That's stupid to get up in arms about. They don't believe in the Trinity. Yeah, that's stupid to get mad about. Like, I think they're all stupid. I would just call I would call them Christian, but it's a big deal to them, right? These Christians, like, they think that the Mormons are teaching blasphemy by being against the Trinity. So if you have an organization like this homeschooling one that she's talking about, where you want to teach your Christian values, you probably don't want people teaching what you call blasphemy. And so I'm like, that's stupid that you think it's blasphemy, but you think it's blasphemy. So I can't really blame you for not wanting to flood your upper leadership in this homeschooling group with Mormons. So yeah, it might be shitty, but I don't care.
Yeah, Forrest is there in the chat. He says, I said we should be opposed to groups that ban black people, which I agree with. It's just, and I actually think Forrest would agree with it, is that under their freedom of association or whatever,
yeah,
if it's not a job or something like that, not housing, I don't know what else. I mean, I guess they should be able to do that and face the consequences of their own, like, I mean, we talked about a whole lot about how like the market sorts that stuff out in a lot of different ways. But
I mean, like this might I remember 20 years ago getting in fights with my lefty friends about Butters. What was his name? Chris Butters. He was a Utah legislator guy, and they was like, "Oh,
you have a Chris Hanna Forrest Gump moment.
oh, do you have a Butters?"
Yeah, I
My
grew
whole
up
thing
on the
is-
street with his sister. His sister.
Sister Butters.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause, like the whole thing is like, like, okay, we should be like, Forrest says we should be opposed to groups that ban black people. Like, okay, but like, would the KKK be better if they started allowing Mexicans? Like, would that be a step up, or would they still be the shitty KKK?
Well, are
You
they
know,
white
like-
Mexicans?
Oh, that's right.
They could have
but,
white
like,
Mexicans,
like,
right?
my whole thing is like, like I always say, it's like, like the neo-Nazis in northern Idaho, not in eastern Idaho where Jared lives.
Yeah,
Jared
where
lives in the good
potato
Idaho.
part.
He's in the potato Idaho. Nazi Idaho is in a completely different part of the state. But like, cause my whole thing is like, okay, as long as they like keep to themselves and their whole thing is like, we hate all other races and we live in the sticks in Idaho and keep to ourselves, like, all right, like that's a truce I can live with. Like, I don't like what you believe, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
If they start
You know?
a chain of
like,
jobs and those
yeah.
jobs get more than 15 people, those jobs are now subject to the EEOC, and they
Yeah.
do have to have
Like, if
non-discriminatory hiring practices.
if they run a hospital in northern Idaho and implement their racist policies in their standards of care, okay, now I'm gonna have an issue with it, and then I'm gonna have to be annoyed, and yes, I'll lose a little sleep over that. Like, that's something I'm gonna have to get out and be like, no, you can't do that. But as long as you're just on your fucking compound having your terrible barbecues and your terrible music and your terrible Nazi world, fine.
There is
Fucking fine.
There is something to be said about like letting people do things that you think are shitty in their own place, like, because I feel
Yeah.
like I feel
Well-
like in the 60s and 70s or whatever, they were trying to like really oust gay people from society in any way they could, and then the gay people would be like, okay, we got a club right here and we're gonna do all of our debauchery in the club. And I feel like the prudes should have been like, okay, yeah, you keep it in that club, you do your thing. And instead, the reaction is usually to try to shut the club down.
Okay, so Forrest says like, oh, I don't know about the KKK, but the church would be better if they allowed gay people. Isn't the church like I mean, I don't know. I still think that Chris put it the best with his satirical headline of was it fraudulent pyramid scheme should be more inclusive and led by women. Like, do you want gay people to suffer all of the horrible horrors of being Mormon? Is that better? Or is it just
still, man, it is
gay
like
people just get a
maybe they
dodge
would
where
be
it's like-
maybe they would be less
like-
mean to their
Yeah.
gay.
Because that's the whole thing. It's like, because like I've spent a little time in the ex Nation of Islam world, where people who were in the Nation of Islam and left it talk about what an all-consuming abusive cult it is. Do you think I'm upset that I am not? I just don't have an option to be abused by the Nation of Islam? No, I'm fine with that.
If that organization is abusive to them, I would say that stuff that repels them from it is does less harm to the world or something.
The other difficulty is if you're trying to maintain a cohesive organization, there's something that you'll notice in universal, like there's like a direct, I don't know what the exact ratio is, but there's a ratio of universalism versus orthodoxy that you have to get right, because orthodoxy, it sucks and you leave it because it's difficult. It's harder to deal with. The rules are more rigid and they're more prudish and stuff like that, but they do stay together better.
Yeah, it
and
seems to be
more
required
universalist,
for
like
unity.
eventually after those standards, good or bad, drop off, like it just starts to kind of fall apart. Like Morgan went to a universalist church with like Black Lives Matter and gay flags and stuff, and there was like 8 people there, and that was it. And then we went to our friend's Eastern Orthodox church, and it was full, So and that's obviously just anecdotal, whatever. But I don't know how much gatekeeping you have to do with Mormonism to keep it afloat. Because if I'm putting my Mormon brain on or my Mormon hat on and wanting the Mormon church to thrive and stuff like that, I don't know that allowing for gay marriage and it would be a good idea for the structure of the church. And also,
It would
I
start to
don't
look
know how
around as
you would.
Church of Christ, like Steve
Yeah,
Pinker says it.
and I don't know how you would justify it doctrinally.
So Forrest says, so do you think the church is abusive, Flip? You seem to play both sides of that argument when it suits you. No. There's the people making the argument that it is necessarily abusive. Like, my position on the church is that, like any organization, it has the potential for abuse. Like, I experienced abuse in the church, but I've experienced way more abuse from employers than I ever experienced from the church, right? Like, if I have to put it all in the balance, right? But like, I'm talking about the people who say that the church is necessarily an abusive cult that's bad for, like, everyone in the church is suffering by virtue of being in the church. That's not my position. I think some people have a shitty time. I think some people do just fine.
Well, I mean, I think Steve Pinecker has more of a consistent view on that too, because Steve Pinecker views the church as a bottom line good and says they should, for that reason, they should allow in gays. You know what I mean? That's more consistent.
Well, that is more consistent. But like, you know,
I put the StreamYard in the thing if anybody wants to join in to talk about.
I want Risto to get the answer to the riddle. That's what I want, because I've thought about the riddle. I can't come up with an answer.
He gave the answer to the riddle and it pissed Forrest off.
What was it?
It's going to piss you off too. It was a lie. The bucket overflowed.
Oh,
that's the answer?
Is that really the answer?
That's what he said in the chat.
Like, that makes sense that it's a Cambodia. Is that riddle post Khmer Rouge or pre Khmer Rouge?
If it was pre year 0, it doesn't even exist. No.
That'll say things like, I do homeschool, Christian homeschool. All these Mormon families are all of a sudden joining our Christian homeschool, believing they're Christian too, but then they want to be leaders. I got a phone call a couple of months ago from a Christian publisher who does homeschool materials. He was quite frustrated because of a lot of the people that used to buy his Christian homeschool materials.
Here's one thing, and to say something positive about Forrest. Like, Forrest had a whole channel dunking on the church. And not once did he do a bigotry. And I've seen a lot of bigotry from ex-Mormons. You know, you can be very, very, very ex-Mormon and not bigotried at all. You know?
It's true. You can be totally honest about the church. I mean, that's the thing that I've said a million times in my life. Because, like, when I was a Mormon, I heard all this stuff about, like, you know, people left the church because they were offended. And like, so they told me their stories. Like, I left the church because of this awful stuff that happened to me. And when I was a Mormon, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, all of my leaders have been great, right? And this is the thing, like, to this day, I can say with total honesty, in my personal life, like, all of my bishops growing up, all of my stake presidents were all fucking awesome. They were all wonderful to me. Even the stake president who excommunicated to me was a fucking mensch. He was such a great guy. And he couldn't have excommunicated me in a nicer way, right? But as a missionary, I encountered a lot of bad leadership. And it was when I was a missionary that I saw, like, oh, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about these guys. And I went, oh, and like, you know, that was a big part of me leaving the church there. It was just that. But like, I can see both sides of it. It's like, yeah, my leadership was excellent. But I know there's shitty leadership out there because I saw it, you know. I experienced both sides of that.
Materials are now buying Mormon Christian homeschool materials. The Mormon Church has stepped into Christian homeschool curriculum. They will go to one of their wealthy people and say, would you please donate to this cause so that we can step into this place?
By the way, you'll notice that, like, if we didn't do that, they'd be like, Mormons, they don't want to really be like us Christians. They're never wanting to participate in any of these big and important things. Maybe if they wanted us to consider them Christian, they'd join homeschooling groups. Maybe they'd like want to help lift where they stand. Maybe they'd want to do some of the hard work. But no, these people, like, you're damned if you do or damned if you don't with the bigots.
Yeah, so it's kind of like conspiracy theory E. They're trying to take over this industry. They're trying to get your children. We need to save ourselves.
So, for us to be consistent, are those Christians being bigoted?
Yeah, I mean, they're being discriminatory, but like I said, I don't really care. Like,
we have a joiner. We have Ryan Wimmer joining in. What's happening, Ryan?
Can you hear me?
We certainly can.
Okay, I don't know why my camera's not working.
Oh,
we've got
so you look good with just that white dot as well. Because it's white. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait. You can't just come on here with your name. You have to get some kind of snarky, funny name. Better think of something fast.
Oh, hell.
We can give you a minute if you need that. What's happening?
The Not much. Lots of fun. I get to
Sorry
go on-
about the Natasha thing, man.
Oh man, yeah, that was pretty gross.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey,
Here's another one from her. No, just kidding.
On Saturday, if they let me, I'm gonna be on. Well, I'm gonna be on Steve Pineker's show. I'm not sure when it's going to
Oh,
air,
sweet.
but I'll see if I can give you guys a shout out if he'll let me.
Oh, for sure. Steve's talked about us. He talked about us on Cultural Hall's channel when they were there together. But yeah, what are you talking to Steve about?
Talking about, I gave this Sunstone presentation back in, I'm not sure if it was, I think it was 2021, about Josh McDowell. He's a Christian apologist. And Steve apparently was influenced by Josh McDowell. And I gave this paper about how his apologetics have changed since his first edition in 1972. I kind of gave an overview of all the different editions and how his confidence in Christianity appears to have weakened some.
Uh-oh.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. I mean, I don't know if you guys know who Josh McDowell is.
I don't know.
Okay.
I bet Risto knows him. I don't know him.
I don't know a Josh McDowell.
He's really
Andy McDowell?
popular in Christian apologetics. He's quite popular.
On YouTube or the written word?
The written word, I do believe he's. I mean, you can find him on YouTube too. His son Sean McDowell, I know, has a YouTube channel.
He looks familiar. I've probably seen him before. I just
wait.
So you think
no, I've definitely seen Sean McDowell.
You think he's a deconstructing, as they say?
Is that one of the guys? Is he on a lot of Christian radio?
He's
Yeah,
actually he is.
It's been a lot of years, and that's the only because I've got a job. My new job has me driving around listening to the radio all the time, which 10 years ago, that's why I listened to all the Christian radio, and I decided I'm going to tune into the old Christian radio and see what's new. The answer is nothing is new. It's all exactly the same. Nothing has changed at all. Well, all right, I don't need to listen to this anymore. It's the same 10,000 hours I already heard. But I feel like I might have heard Josh McDowell on that when
You might have. I grew up. My dad was he used to be a Pentecostal before he was a Mormon. So I mean he kind of grew up. I kind of grew up a little different. You know, he watched Billy Graham more than he watched General Conference.
Whoa!
Even after converting?
Yeah. Now he was converted, long before I was born.
Oh wow.
But growing up, he always, he get bear his testimony. He sounded just different than everyone else, and it was because he was a born again Christian. Really, I mean, a born again Christian going to a Mormon church, I guess is the best way to put it.
Do you think he's bigoted to Mormons?
My dad or Josh McDowell?
Oh, I was going to say Josh McDowell. But
he's done some critical Mormon pieces. He had a book some years ago, Ready Defense, that had a section on cults, and of course, Mormons were in it.
Mormons were a cult.
Yeah. There was another book came out recently. I can't remember the name of it, but Sean McDowell had an article in this book about more, and the whole book was different articles about witnessing to Mormons. But so I don't know if bigotry might be too big of a word, but I mean, he does think that Mormons are on their own path going to hell.
They have this problem, and because the woke left and the woke right do this thing where they equate disagreement with bigotry.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to with Cardin.
There's an awful lot of Christians that disagree with Mormons and are perfectly nice about it. Then there are some that are bigoted about it. I don't know. For me, the big whole thing is will you let your kids play with their kids? That's one of the thermometers of bigotry. It's one thing to say oh, we don't have the same theology of them, but we treat everyone with kindness and respect, not bigotry. Versus, I won't let you play with their kids. Well, that's bigotry.
Well, you know what's crazy? I was just thinking about this the other day. Is this difference between like religious approaches to dealing with the non-religious people in your lives? And because I was thinking about how, like, if I was making fun of my supervisor, telling him that at one point we're going to have a they them come there, and I'm just going to say, yeah, I don't do that. And then my supervisor, this super right wing hunter guy who doesn't give a shit about politics, is going to have to explain to me how I have to care about everybody's pronouns or whatever. But it's funny to me that I've had a lot of disagreements with people online. They're like, this doesn't affect you. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't affect me that you think you're non-binary. And it doesn't affect you that I don't think you're non-binary. So let's just go on. You can go do your thing. I'm not going to participate. You can pretend. I'm going to not pretend. And you can think that I'm the one that's pretending. Who cares? And they're like, no, you're denying my human right. Like, that's a sticking point for them. They can't get past that. And it's crazy to me because I started thinking about the Christians that I know who, like, when I'm talking to them, every now and then I'll just think, you think I'm going to burn forever.
You remember the, the Seinfeld stuff?
You think I'm going to burn forever? You're Jewish, so you think that, like, your Talmud says that his son of God is burning in human shit forever right now, and you guys all get along. What a threshold for human interaction that we're just totally okay with, but you can't get around me not using they, them pronouns for you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, with a lot of my... I've had a lot of exposure to, you know, these Christians because I've given these papers at Sunstone, similar ones before. And so I've had a lot of run-ins. And so, you know, a lot of them are praying for me, and I'm also I guess an ex-Mormon. And so I got them praying for me. So, you know, we'll see which God wins.
That is one of the craziest parts to me is I found an ex-Mormon Christian Facebook group. And I remember asking them that question. I'm like, is it worth to be what's worse, being an atheist or a Mormon? And that one, man, that short circuited him. Because I was like, isn't not believing in God like the worst thing you can do or whatever? And so, like, at least if they're Mormon, like, would you rather your family leave the Mormon church and become an atheist or remain a Mormon? Like, if those are the only two options, they're never going to find their way to your real version of Christianity or whatever. If those are the only two options, you got the Mormon church, which is like convincing them of, you know, doing service, being very family oriented, all this shit, or they can, you know, jump out into the lone and dreary world and hopefully not become polyamorous. What would you prefer for them? Oh, they're both hellish lies. I'm like, come on, man.
It's like when I asked the thoughtful saints when I posed the question, is it okay to not be Mormon? And that was when Jacob had his legendary, what does okay mean?
It's okay to be white.
Well, you know, over the past year or so, I've decided to soften up on my stance against, I don't know, I got this thing against born again Christians, but I think with all the wokeism and kind of what, you know, Peter Boghossian talks about, how they kind of, you know, you had the new atheist movement, they kind of replaced religion with wokeism.
Yeah.
I think I like the old God Christianity.
For sure.
That's because that's one of those tough things. Because, like, you know, part of me is like, you know, like, just be that kind of soft, kind of fuzzy Christian. But then I think about the Anglican Church, which is just woke now. You know, like because, you know, for a long time I was like, well, Anglicanism, that's the Christianity. If I lived in a country that had a state religion, I'd want it to be Anglicanism, because it's just kind of like, Jesus, whatever. But that's falling apart because it's all just going woke now. You know, who's that guy? That Robinson guy that's fighting against it. He's like a hero for me, even though he's a Christian guy. You know who I'm talking about? The mulatto guy with the big fro.
Oh,
Calvin. Say that in English.
Calvin Robinson.
Calvin. I want to say Kyle, but no, Calvin Robinson.
Well, this was just Peter today, who also said the wokeism consumed the atheist movement, and he's driving the return to Christianity, which kind of goes in line with Aaron Ra and Mr. Deity complaining about Ayaan Hirsi Ali turning Christian or whatever. But Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay are saying right there, laying at the feet, like, you know, what's kind of driving him back to it a little bit is this new God, is Ryan.
Yeah, my 17-year-old son, he was just baptized Mormon recently.
Whoa, at 17?
Yeah.
Is he going on a mish?
I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, I have they haven't really been raised in the church, really. Neither one of
Here's
my
the deal,
kids,
like,
but
put in the mission call. If it's a foreign country in a non Indo-European language, send them. If it's stateside American, say
Try
no,
again.
don't do it. Yeah.
Just
roll
send new papers in, move to a different ward.
Yeah, just reapply under his middle name.
You think they can do that?
I think I've heard myths of people trying and then getting in trouble, but I think they were just fake
I mean,
stories.
I really wonder. Like, I mean, I've said for a long time. I don't know. I have no idea. But for a long time, I felt like if I had not been called to a stateside English-speaking mission, I might still be Mormon. You know, like if I
I wouldn't have made it to the mission. I wouldn't have made it through. Like the Spanish is what kept me going for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
So I want to address this thing because Forrest says the temple is deaf bigoted. Deaf as in definitely not unable to hear. Which, okay. What do you mean there? Because, like, I mean, it's a club with rules.
Discriminatory. So I think that's what he's saying. Which,
well, yeah, but I mean, it's discriminatory against people who don't follow the rules.
No, yeah,
but is that bigotry? Because, like, the whole, like, there's lots of clubs that you have to follow the rules.
well, he said he was joking about it, but
I don't have the screenshot of it here, but in that one of those atheism Facebooks, they put up some post of Pete Buttigieg saying, "You're free to practice your religion until it's harmful to others." But then, as they say, just as I guess Ryan just said here, is that any sort of hurt feelings is considered harmful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys can do the concept creep of making anything harmful. And then you can, well, if we're mandated to come take us over because it's harmful, it gives you all power.
You know what
Well, that's
harms
like
me
what I was
is
gonna
not
bring up
like
earlier was-
if I don't say the N-word 4 times an hour, I am harmed. Actually, so
I just need to say,
sorry, guys.
You gamed it
like,
back.
But like, because Forrest, like, with your, like, you know, we should be opposed to discriminatory groups. Like, okay, so should we send the military back into Afghanistan to suppress the Taliban? Because we tried it for 20 years. You know, like this is one of those.
Well, so the
Thomas Sowell situations where it's like, I don't like the Taliban. I don't like their thing about not letting women go to school or drive cars or 10 million other things. Like, they're extremely bigoted and racist and 10 million other things. But, like, the solution is that we send our military in there and suppress them. Well, that's a whole other can of worms. Like, I don't know what to do with that. And so, like, maybe the answer is, like, just as long as they contain themselves to the hills of Afghanistan, we tolerate it. I don't know.
So, Forrest was actually responding to back and forth with me, him, and Risto in the chat because we were just kind of joking around, and he was saying they were asking about bigotry or something, and Forrest disagreed with Risto over something because he said that, well, those are immutable characteristics. It's okay to discriminate. It's not bigotry to discriminate against somebody without immutable characteristics, I think is what he was trying to get at. And I said, it's okay. Risto's a determinist. All characteristics are immutable. So, but then that's how he responded. He responded and said, oh, well, then the temple's definitely bigoted, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Troy made the comment, atheism plus went woke. Shermer, Dawkins, Boghossian, Lindsay, Hirsi Ali didn't. And many
That is
others.
correct.
But why did they put that plus on there? But
yeah, no, atheism plus. That's because I remember when that happened, and like it was long before I knew anything about woke or critical theory or any of this shit. And I heard, was it Richard Carrier talking about this. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was mean, like, this is just weird. And like, in my stupid brain, I'm like, well, this isn't going to catch on. It's the opposite of my no doubt prediction.
Well, I mean,
like
I guess
heard no doubt 6 months before it happened. I'm like, oh, this will catch on. But then when I heard Atheism Plus, like, there's no way this will catch on. And
Yeah, it's
I was
better.
dead
It's better.
fucking wrong.
It's better than the Flight.
I thought the same when Instinct came out. I'm like, no, this isn't going to be a thing. And then it was. And I'm wrong about almost everything.
Well, I went to in 2014 when the American Atheists had their convention here in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
I attended that for a day, and
it reminded you too much of church.
Well, there were several presentations on identity.
Yeah.
And things like that, and this was before it really got popular. And anyway, and I mean, these people are pissed off. Everything they were talking about Christianity. I mean, they just thought it was just evil. And
anti-theism.
Yeah. Anyway, I decided I wasn't very much at home.
like for me, I feel like I mean, it's hard to say going back all the time because, I left the church and I never had the angry face. I never went through that. I think it's a product of my upbringing that I never had the angry phase. But then also, what was? Damn it! I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, but the anti-Christian thing, like for me, that's right. That was my train of thought. For me, like the atheism movement, the new atheism movement, the thing that I was glommed onto, the thing that for me mattered was the separation clause. Like that for me is still and always was the fight of atheism was the separation clause. It's like, no, we keep religion out of liberal government,
Yes.
and I'm losing that fight. Oh God, am I losing?
Well, you're losing that fight because people like the flying spaghetti monster thing is cringe now because a bunch of dipshits got a hold of it and totally lost the entire point. But it was
my
a clever
universe farting
thing
unicorn
originally.
isn't catching on.
Yeah.
I changed the universe farting unicorn, which I think is better than the flying spaghetti monster because the universe farting unicorn satisfies the Big Bang.
Well, see, this is one of the big arguments of those dissident right guys, and we brought it up before too, is that they claim you can't really have neutral institutions. It'll have values which could be stemmed back to being claimed that those are religious values in one way, shape, or form or another. But I don't know. The atheism, I mean, we've covered a lot about how that went crazy, and Ryan went and got to see it. The thing that we've said that Thunderfoot has documented really, really well, which if you click on his channel nowadays, it's all Elon Musk hate, but he definitely covered how those conventions went nuts. Like they were so huge and growing and big when it was the Four Horsemen. And then when they started bringing the identity stuff in, it just destroyed it in type of a way that you can say this will happen to any organization you bring it into. Even if it is the Mormon organization.
Man, is there any good place to get information on Elon Musk? Because it feels like maybe even more so than Trump, you're either sucking his dick or you hate him. Like those are the only, and I just never believe anybody who's doing either of those.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like Elon is one of these guys where like 10 years ago, I was getting in fights with my lefty friends. We're like, why are you guys sucking this guy's dick so hard? He's a fraud. And now, like, it's always reversed. We're like, to the conservatives, like, why are you guys sucking this guy's dick so hard? He's a fraud. Like, he says a lot of stuff I like. I think it's funny. Like, the way he fucks with journalists, I love that. Like, I think it was Don Lemon. I love it so much when Don Lemon, like, was interviewing Elon Musk. And he says, like, aren't you concerned about what the media says about you? And he says, I don't think anybody should be concerned about what the media says about them. They're terrible judges of character. Like that was fucking golden, and like Elon Musk with the BBC journalist, like just fucking shutting that guy down. I fucking love that.
Oh, that was awesome. The fuck you, Bob Iger. That's amazing. I love that shit.
Oh yeah, and the fuck you, Bob Iger. Like that was incredible.
The Disney stuff. Yeah.
But meanwhile, like he's gotten away with so many. Like, okay, The whole idea that electric
his
vehicles
products aren't
are
also
environmental.
yeah, but his products aren't also complete shit like Thunderfoot. Well, like there's some good products in what Elon does. It's not zero, but
Yeah, I guess
he also does scam with them a little bit. Like he claims he's going to do more than he will be able to do.
Like I mean, it kind of boils my blood that anybody thinks that EVs are an environmental choice, because like they're not. Like one of the things that like it's the iron law of elitism, because they say like, oh, I bought an EV to reduce pollution. Like you didn't reduce pollution. There's less pollution where you are. You didn't reduce pollution. You just shifted it, and you shifted it to mostly poor developing countries. That's all you did. Yeah, all you did is move the pollution to a shitty place where you don't live. Like,
so I don't know if we power through this whole entire thing now, or we could keep powering through it. But some of the points that Luke brings up, like number one here is, are these Christian groups of home teachers bigoted for saying we don't want the Mormon parents to start becoming leaders in the thing
in our Christian schools?
But I would say, I mean, this is where one of the hard things with the Civil Rights Act and the First Amendment. The First Amendment is the freedom of religion. The Civil Rights Act does have religion in it as well, which overlaps some of the other bigotries, right? And it makes it difficult because some people's religious views also have those things that would exclude others, right? But if these guys are doing a Christian home teaching thing, I don't know that it's bigotry that they want to keep it their denomination of Christianity.
Well, we just confuse bigotry and discrimination as if they're the same thing, but we only ever use the word bigotry because it's more charged than discrimination. Because yes, it is discriminatory that they're not allowing Mormons to be leaders, in the same way that it's discriminatory that the WNBA won't let LeBron James play. That is discriminatory, and it's absolutely justified because it's their group and it gets to be the way that they want it.
Discrimination on the head, though. There, Mormons, we desperately want to be part of your Christian club. Also, we are the only church. Like, yep, like that is one of those things where it's like they do definitely want to walk both that sides. Oh, we are a peculiar people. We are the one exclusive church. No, but we're like mainstream Christians like you.
That's a good point.
They do what? Yeah, they definitely want to have both sides of that.
Yeah.
Form of religious bigotry. Okay. And none of these that I'm aware of. I'm sure they talk about the Bible and all that stuff, but I don't think any of them market themselves.
But at the same time, if Mormons started a homeschooling thing, they would pretty quickly say, "Hey, we don't want you, the Farrakhanite, as one of our leaders of our homeschooling."
Or a Catholic
group.
or a Scientologist. Or, no, you want Mormons teaching your Mormon school.
Well, and especially if it's like I don't know, they might let some of them in if you're teaching math or whatever, but if you start teaching like
Trinity,
the triune God, if you start teaching the triune God, then look, you can't teach that or we're going to kick you out, and that's discriminatory, but it's within your rights. You're a group.
Even though Catholic priests are highly qualified, there are no Catholic priests teachings in Mormon seminaries. There are none. It's bigotry.
Is it bigotry if Deseret Book won't hire, I don't know, a regular Christian?
Natasha Helfer?
Yeah, that's where the church gets really weird, because I mean I definitely think it isn't as far as they are a 501c3 where you can say we discriminate for our religion, but then you start selling things on the market and make a business out of it. It does seem like at some level there you guys are making profit, and that thing should be subject to regular EEOC laws and not just a 501c3 of like who's running a church, in my view. Does Siegel Book and Tape claim to be part of the church organization that they can discriminate for religion?
Jeez, that's because they're not the church, right? They're not a church-owned entity.
I guess it's probably one of those things that just doesn't come up very often.
I know that
only Mormons apply there.
DI hires whoever, right? I mean, I've seen all sorts of people in the DI that for sure.
Well, DI, so DI is reverso because they go out of their way to hire retards.
This is why people can't see part of our freedom of association, and this is the same with Steve Pinecker. Like Steve Pinecker is friend of the channel, but he definitely doesn't have to have us on because he doesn't have to show that he associates with us.
I don't blame him
because we say salty stuff. But
Also, it's like we're a Trinitarian believing Bible only, sola scriptura, faith only Christian group that's just trying to give. No, that's not what it's like. It's just kind of good Judeo-Christian homeschooling stuff that she's saying is very pernicious and your kids need to get away from.
Okay, so this is really interesting because I literally just said, I'm going to ask Google, what are the signs of religious bigotry? I feel like we're doing some kind of like really snazzy or super cringe 1990s big pharma commercial, like the signs of religious bigotry, maybe, conspiracy theories, as well as outlandish claims that have nothing to do based in reality. Constipation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is what AI says. It says that religious bigotry can manifest in different ways, including religious intolerance, check, religious harassment, check, and or making money off of this religious harassment. Direct discrimination. What's happened? I know people that have been denied healthcare, people that have been denied housing, people that have been denied all of the above for being members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and indirect discrimination, which is interesting. It puts somebody at a disadvantage because of their religion or beliefs. For example, an employer might refuse to allow an employee to take time off for religious observances. That's interesting. And then there's actually an article by Alan D. Arnold, attorney at law, talking about negative remarks or jokes can take many forms, including wow. Well, so we might have to get this guy on. So anyway, keep going. So
we're only pointed out 3
here. I mean, we might get there, but Cardin also reads a definition of bigotry that also includes the lack of belief therein, which you could also be discriminated for. Cardin, you can. Would you guys let an atheist be a part of your Christian group right there, your homeschooling group? Because that is also something that you can discriminate for.
Which, by the way, if you didn't let an atheist teach in your Christian homeschooling group, I would also say, oh, okay. Like that's my criticism of that I don't care.
Yeah.
Your fucking group.
Yeah, we're only pointing out 3 here. Number 1 is women like Lynn Wilder who make up fake conspiracy theories or advancing old tropes.
Yeah,
never dreamed
so
doing
this
with
is
Jews.
this is advocating for social ostracism.
The old tropes.
What are the old tropes, Cardin?
The old tropes are any argument that's made against the church that is a week old.
Yeah.
And that has been debunked over and over, like he always says.
This Fanny Alger stuff, bro, has been debunked. They've been making this. They've been making this argument for like 160 years. That's because it happened 160 years ago, you twat.
Yeah. So I keep seeing. I guess we brought up last week too. Somebody saying like, I understand your valid criticisms, but I don't respect your bad ones. And you're like, okay, tell me which ones are good. Tell me. You guys tell me which ones are okay, because I don't think you're going to get into that list very much.
Troy, I try to be kind to everyone, but Cardin seems aggressively stupid to me. I'd watch more Ward Radio if it was hosted by a chimpanzee. I will say, Troy does try very hard to be kind to people. He's a lot nicer to Jacob Hansen than I thought he would be.
I've got a quick diversion, but it's related to Porch Time stuff. But check out my screen share. And how many years has it been since we laid down our not that he took it, but our bet with John Larson? Because it was like 3 years ago. He said we had 5 years to save the Great Salt Lake, and here it is that it's rising. Levels continue to rise. We're doing okay
because of John Larson.
Because of John. Oh, that's right. Because John Larson made it happen.
It's just like, it's weren't the solar or the polar ice caps were supposed to melt by 2015, and then when didn't even come close to happening a decade ago, we were like, why didn't that happen? And Al Gore was like, because of me.
Yeah,
you guys kind of listened to me a little bit.
Like, I'll bet you $5,000 that in 5 years there's still a Great Salt Lake. And like, yep.
How many years has it been?
Like 3 or 4. Are we at the 3, 4? When did we start this? I don't know how long we've been doing this.
That's not to say like it couldn't dry up, but I've been watching like so many Great Lakes videos lately. Like, do you know how much smaller the Great Lakes are than they used to be in history? Like, lakes drain, and that's part of what happens in the world. But
did we forget about Pangea? When that was a thing.
Well, Lake Utah used to be just straight Lake Bonneville, the whole entire thing.
Yeah. But, I always forget the salinity. I forget the name of it. It's like it would be a great name for an indie rock band. But it's the something salinity crisis. And it was like this whole period where the Strait of Gibraltar closed up and the Mediterranean Sea was just the Mediterranean land. And that was like a part of geologic history. And then it reversed and filled with water again. And It's
Well, I
okay.
saw something. I just saw some imagery of the Gibraltar Rock, which belongs to the UK still, which is down at the bottom of Spain. But it's attached to the land now. You can walk to it. But I think it can like fill back up and turn back into a rock like pretty quick.
Did John Larson get rid of his channel?
Yeah, he's been retired again for.
He's not asking for money. Like, wait, he's not saving the earth with his communist farm?
No, he's saving it.
Oh,
just by his very existence, growing his Oreos out and his patches out there. Man. he's got all sorts of
Oreo crops coming in good this year.
Licorice fields are growing.
Outside of just religious disagreements. This is kind of moving outside of the religious space into the homeschool space. And no, we need to keep these Mormons out because they're trying to contaminate us. They're trying to infect us.
Okay.
All right. So number 2.
They're not wrong about that. Like,
and Mormons do that gatekeeping. Mormons
Yeah.
do that gatekeeping.
Like the Mormon worldview is fundamentally incompatible with the Christian worldview. That doesn't mean that Mormons and Christians can't live together on planet Earth, but their worldviews are incompatible. It's liberalism that keeps them from killing each other. Like, it's American liberal values that say you have to keep to yourself and we all keep to ourselves. And when it comes to traffic and hospitals and bank loans, we have to treat each other the same. But in theology, yes, Mormons are trying to change Christians' minds. Yes, they fucking are.
I have it pulled up and I keep wanting to get into it, but then we keep running along. But the Church of Korihor tenets too, with all that stuff that guy adds in as something that atheism necessarily leads to. I maybe want to try to get into those his whole tenets of the Church of Korihor, which
Wait a minute, is it like
so
he's talking about what atheism leads to. So is it?
Well,
is it
most of atheism plus says it necessitates necessarily leading towards secular humanism, right?
So it's kind of like the opposite of what like Jacob and Cardinal say. It's atheism has to lead to something, and they say it's bad, and we say it's utopia.
Yeah, but at the same time too, as I've joked, that guy also then becomes like the exact stereotype of the ex-Mormon. Like he's like, oh, we're gonna have polycule marriages and we're gonna do all this sorts of other stuff. I'm like, no, you're the exact stereotype that Culture Hall tells us doesn't exist really out there very much. So, but now they're starting a whole church for it.
Ooh, let's do another 15 seconds or so.
Okay, cool.
We've got the gist of it, but yeah, we can just bathe in it a
So
little more.
there are now Christian curriculum being taught in Christian schools.
Yeah.
That are
Believe in
done
Christ.
by Mormon companies, right?
Yeah.
So that takes us to another place, which is The Chosen. So we have
yes.
a Christian filmmaker
Yep.
that Christians look to as a kind of cultural Christian icon. They're in advertisements that are asking Christians to donate to angel.com. Okay, it's a company that's owned by Mormons. In my place in ministry, this is what I deal with, right?
Dude, no wonder. Okay, just like Bush ruined the Republican brand with the war in Iraq. Like it's just statistical, irrefutable proof. Yes, I know that a lot of that was misrepresentations on behalf of the media and so on and so forth. But Bush ruined the Republican brand. There's a strong argument that COVID ruined the Democrat brand. Okay, I can see
Okay.
why the Lynn Wilders of this world ruined the Christian brand in the 80s and 90s. Like, look at this. Can you believe that Mormons they own a TV studio that makes things? And what?
Notice that they're not pointing out any doctrines or any specifics. It's just the fact that the Mormons are there. So now,
but when they do that, it's bigotry.
You don't think Christians point out specific Mormon doctrines that they don't like? What if you ever talked to them?
Check
Yes,
out,
all been debunked.
check out Troy's latest comment. Throw that
Yeah,
up
that
there
was
so it'll
great.
fit on the screen.
Read it. I can't. I'm not.
I thought it was amusing when
you do it.
Okay, I thought it was amusing when he, Joe, included a tenet that followers of Korihor have lots of sex, only to be corrected by one of his ace followers that he was being bigoted. Yeah, guys, we get a lot of pussy, but some of us don't like pussy. Ah, shit. Okay, we get a lot of pussy.
Like, look, in the
Yes, we
Church of
want.
Korihor, it works just like in the Mormon Church. Like, Just because you're gay, you just need to bite the bullet and have sex with the vagina. And just because you're ace, you just need to bite the bullet and go ahead and accept the dick. That's how
You
church
go,
works.
sweetheart.
Accept
if
the
you just-
dick.
Sweetheart, if you would just go to the weekly orgy, it will cure you. It's conversion therapy from your
Pray.
asexuality.
Just
it probably
pray
worked.
and let the dick happen.
Yeah. I feel like I had a lot of women trying to convert me to ace. Conversion therapy, man.
And Natasha Helfer Parker damn near did it to me tonight.
You just got conversion therapy by Natasha Helfer
Yeah.
to asexuality.
I'm gonna go up to my wife tonight, and I'm gonna get in bed next to her, and she's gonna try to kiss me, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't."
We should start an ace conversion therapy channel, and we just watch Natasha Helfer videos.
Jewish brothers, a bunch of Jewish brothers started the Warner Brothers. A bunch of Jewish guys started MGM. What are you going to say? Oh, can you believe those Jews?
Well, some people do.
There it
Some
is.
people do.
We're going to the
We're going to the Jew thing, but it's also stupid because it's not related. If the criticism is the Mormon church itself, the church proper, owns a TV studio, then a parallel criticism wouldn't be some Jewish guy privately owns a TV studio over here, which is
the Jews. What would this world be like if the Jews were actually evangelical? Like, it would be a pretty different world, you know what I mean? Because they own all that
Yeah.
stuff, but they're never trying to convert us.
Like,
to
it's part of
Judaism.
the Jewish religion that you can't convert people to Judaism.
Yeah, but
Like,
what would this
people have
with
to
them
want
owning
to
all those
do-
studios? What if they were? What if it was that world? Like, how much Jewish preaching would we get in all of our movies?
Would you have to like choose a Jewish last name when you converted? Like, you
Sure.
are now baptized into our faith, Jared Higdon Goldman Bergman Steinmanberg.
Hannah Gold, gold Hannah.
Here
that is widely
is your
found-
acne and some pennies to pinch, and you must hunch over. Be a stereotype.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, the South Park Jewish stereotype that they're so embarrassed of. When I watch the Church of Korhor guy, I'm like, oh, that's the ex-Mormon atheist, and he's
Stereotyping against ex-Mormons is awful.
upon in society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is religious bigotry, number one, right here. So you say
And
conspiracy.
I'm pretty sure actually Ali Beth Stuckey in the same clip, it's one that we played before, she goes on to say, yeah, and I noticed that there's like Mormon moms everywhere in the social media. So we need to make sure we can't be following too many people on social media who happen to be Mormons, even if it's really good, wholesome content. Yeah, so that's social ostracization in non-religious settings. Bigotry number one. We're going to go to Mike Winger for...
I will give them a slight type 1 hit. I think Ali Beth Stuckey can get a little bit on the...
I don't know who that is.
She's just a conservative commentator.
But
Or
yeah,
bigotry
I think if you're like, I think if somebody has a bunch of good ideas that they're telling you, and then you find out that they're Mormon, and you stop following them because of that, you're stupid.
Number two.
Oh, really? Mike Winger.
Mike Winger.
Okay. Where is that?
That's the
gonna be found?
YouTube timestamp that I put in the Discord.
The YouTube timestamp.
Yeah, so what this one is going to be is misrepresenting our doctrine, but not just misrepresenting it, it's misrepresenting it for the purposes of portraying us as stupid or culty. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you get President Hinckley wrong, that's not necessarily
Cardin isn't ever guilty of that. No, Cardin never said anything disparaging about other Christian doctrine. No.
So I disagree with Lynn's assessment of the cultiness of the church, and I don't think it's a 0. Like, I think it hits somewhere on that culty scale, you know what I mean? But I don't think it's bigotry, like when he goes trying to make that assessment, even though he can be a little bit leaning towards that.
Mormon bigotry. If you,
he's a fake asshole, but like, I don't think you're a bigot for calling the Mormon Church a cult. If you're gonna call a cult if we're gonna say it's a spectrum of cultiness or whatever, then I always say that I would put the line right here in the middle, and exactly as far over the line as I think Jehovah's Witnesses are into cult territory. I think Mormonism is on the exact other side of that, basically, or as close as you. They're like mirrors on the other side, the opposite side of the cult.
In
line.
my 1 to 10 cultometry scale, like Alcoholics Anonymous is like a 2 or a 3. You know, like Scientology is an 8 or a 9. I put Mormonism at like 5 or 6. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses maybe 1 click above that, but not much. You know, like the military is about the same. You know,
I think bodybuilding is about the same.
Yeah, no, and also I mean, so many places, so many employers, I'd put on the same level, as far as cultiness, for sure.
What were you saying, Ryan?
I would put I put Mormons at about a 4 on the cult scale, and I'd put Mormon stories at about number 8.
yeah, that's for sure. I do think Mormon stories demands more of your intellectual soul than Mormonism does.
They do a lot more pledge drives because they don't have that robust tithing settlement shit going on. So I understand.
It's far less formal and quick to get kicked out. You know?
I'd put Mormonism at 4. I'd put thoughtful faith at 5.
Haven't some of you guys been kicked off Mormon stories?
Oh yes, no, 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, we should have a candlelight vigil for that.
There used to be
several
a group.
people.
I don't know if it's still there, or I don't know if I got thrown out of it, or if it disappeared. But there used to be a Facebook group of just people who got thrown out of Mormon stories.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people who come this way are people who got either kicked out or shadow banned. And I'm not kicked off the Facebook page because I be very careful there because I want to keep seeing it, but I can't comment on their YouTube videos.
Yeah, I got kicked out for making a shitty video about John DeLynn. And it was like, I didn't even post it in the group. I posted it on my personal Facebook page. And then I went and looked. I was like, should I post it in the group? But then when I looked, I was kicked out of the group. And I think it's because I'm Facebook friends with Gerardo and he probably saw it.
We've talked a little bit about it here, and we can't go all the way into detail, but even Jonathan Streeter gets struggle sessioned over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure anywhere that Maven is an admin, I'm shadow banned.
Well, there's only what are the groups I'm not kicked out? I haven't been kicked out of Mormon Enlightenment, and I haven't been kicked out of the LDS Uncensored one. But every other ex-Mormon group there is, I've been kicked out of.
I got a temporary ban from the ex-Scientology group for the exact same reason I got banned from the ex-Mormon group, which was saying, guys, it's not okay to be bigoted against Scientologists. Oh, and by the way, I was going to bring that up. Just in the last 2 days, would you believe that the ex-Scientology world is being torn apart by accusations of infidelity? No way! Wow. It happened to the XJW world. It's funny. Every single ex-religious thing, it all breaks down for the exact same reason. Infidelity. Every fucking time.
I will say the Mormon Church has a strikingly low number of sex scandals in the higher up positions over the last 100 years.
They really do. Because there was the apostle that got excommunicated in 1948 for being polygamous. That's the last one.
Yeah, I think there was a couple 70s that got X'd for diddling kids or something like that. I can't remember exactly,
but yeah, Mormons seem to be pretty faithful. Weird.
I guess maybe it's also because the guys that they get are so geriatric that they couldn't cheat on their wives even if they wanted to. So that might be part of it.
I have a real quick message before we get back to this. Arachnophobia is so stupid. Just let spiders get.
That's one of my favorite memes ever. Is that one that's snarky guy going, "Arachnophobic, huh? You must secretly want to fuck spiders."
It's funny because our friend Doodles, I always bring it up as a case because Doodles, when he was a teenager, had wicked bad arachnophobia. He was just
did?
Yeah.
Oh, he used to collect jumping spiders.
No, so this is the story. Because I was there for it, part of it anyway. Because he was super duper duper scared of spiders to the point where it bothered him. And so what he did, this was pre the internet being good. He went to the library and he checked out all of the books on spiders. And then he just learned about spiders. And he educated himself on spiders and therapized himself out of arachnophobia. And that's when he started collecting spiders.
Doing his own research, he probably got all sorts of misinformation.
He went to the library and learned for himself.
You make a not quite true claim about how we view the Bible versus the Book of Mormon. That's not really anti-Mormon bigotry, but when you do what Mike Winger does here, I think it goes into the realm of bigotry.
Okay. All right. So here we go.
Cool?
Cool-headed Luke says this is religious bigotry. You know you're in trouble, Mike Winger, if cool-headed Luke says so. So here we go, Mike Winger, go.
Second level down, the terrestrial kingdom is for ignorant but honorable people. Christians, generally good people, and Mormons who weren't good Mormons, but at least they were on the rolls of the church.
Like,
So you
that's
still
all.
remains on the rolls there.
So where
It's
are
like
you?
Earth. What's that?
Where are you going?
Up here, well, oh, you don't want to know where I'm going.
I know the place I'm going, so you have to let me know.
I speak openly against the Mormon Church, so that probably consigns me to hell or to their outer darkness. Yeah.
That's doctrinally incorrect. You have to receive the full measure of glory and have a perfect understanding of the Holy Ghost and deny him
that's not
in order to
bigotry,
be
though,
sent out
Cardin.
of darkness. And he
Yeah,
obviously
not
doesn't have
bigotry,
that. So
He's
like,
just
Yeah,
incorrect.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, but also like,
misunderstanding
Cardin-
that is not
So like this is one of those things where like if I was in the room, I'm like, okay, Cardin, who is for sure going to outer darkness? Like Riso asked us this question, and even all of us ex-Mormons were kind of like, I don't know. We've heard different things.
Well, sort of the common parlance on it for my entire lifetime has been that nobody that you have ever met, like you can
Yeah.
count on one hand the amount of people who go to outer darkness. But if you
Cain
go back
and
further,
Judas, right? Like Cain and Judas are the two names that are for
yeah,
sure.
and I've even seen people say maybe Judas. You know,
Yeah,
like,
well, yeah, because
but if
there's
you
the whole
go
problem,
back-
like because Judas has like the same thing as Eve. Like, was Eve bad for fulfilling
yeah
the plan
So-
of salvation?
But also if you go back far enough, you can find Mormon leaders who will speculate that like I don't know, Oliver Cowdery might go to outer darkness or some shit like
Like
that.
if you got as high, I'd heard, and maybe it came some from miracle forgiveness, that if you got as high as getting the Melchizedek priesthood, you could become in danger of it.
Yeah, so
but
there's not really
common.
a solid doctrine on it. So I don't blame the guy for getting it wrong. I'd say
yeah.
I would call it wrong just because any Mormon you ask about outer darkness, they're going to be like, yeah, you and me have no worry of going there. And like I did shrooms in my temple clothes and showed all my friends the handshakes. So if anybody is a candidate for outer darkness, you'd think it'd be me. But even Mormon Jared would say to future Jared, yeah, you're not going.
Yeah,
And that's why
I think that's
like,
an honest mistake.
Forrest makes a point like he's probably joking, but like this is one of those things where we know that Cardin is being I can't think of the word right now, disingenuous, which is that like there's how Mormons talk about outer darkness when they're on YouTube in public, and then there's how Mormons talk about it when there's only Mormons in the room, you know. And that's the thing. It's like Cardin knows damn well that, like, no, like there are people who are for sure going to outer darkness, you know. But like like out here, like when he's in public, he's gonna play like, oh no, there's extremely clear things, blah blah blah. Like, no.
What were you saying, Ryan?
I was just saying that was I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know why Cardin got so much.
Well, yeah, no, like Forrest says, it's basically a joke.
It's a little inaccurate, but
It's
it's
tongue
being
in
a little
cheek, yeah.
inaccurate.
But it's
being-
tongue in cheek. It's like this guy doesn't believe in it, so he's satirizing it. Okay.
Well,
Call this a
Were you saying something?
yeah, I was just gonna say that earlier. I think it was today's show on Word Radio. There was something about becoming gods, and some critic that they were talking about, and I don't know if Cardin was right on that. Because, I mean, I know they've kind of moved away that we're going to get our own planet and all that stuff, but I mean, it's still out there. So when people say it, I would say it's not
It says
inaccurate.
worlds, right? You get worlds, or that's actually like in the doctrinal stuff. I remember a video Forrest did on that, which isn't up anymore anywhere. Are you putting it back up ever, Forrest? But then you have all sorts of Mormons who will like put out memes that say, we're not getting the world, we're getting worlds and worlds and worlds and everything. And, you know, based, like a guy there going based, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Yeah, when Mormons are in their own world, when Mormons are in a room with only Mormons, they talk about getting their own planets. And then if any non-Mormon talking about it, they go, you don't even, you don't understand. Duh.
And to say something I believe, and I know that John Larson always says too, like that was one of your better ideas. Like why run from that one?
Yeah.
I was wondering if those of us that got endowed under that promise would be grandfathered in, and we still get planets.
All right, I gotta work early tomorrow, and
Alrighty.
before I get sucked in forever, do we have any finals?
You don't want to keep going on this? I mean, I can.
I
I'll
want to keep going. I just gotta be responsible. And
I'll hang out with and keep going if you want to. That's fine.
you guys
with me.
got Ryan to fill in for me.
Yeah.
Just say retard a bunch and no one will get different. All right, I'm gonna keep listening, but I'm gonna bail.
All right, see you, man.
See ya.
At least perpetuating a bigotry against the church, because you're falsely assigning bigotry to the church. But since you're doing it falsely, then that becomes bigotry in and of itself.
And you know what's so interesting is I remember this video when we debunked it previously. Had he just simply gotten a misinterpretation?
So being inaccurate about what they believe about hell is bigotry. I mean,
No, I know. That's like if I said that, I don't know, like if I said that all Jews said that I'm gonna burn for eternity for I don't know, like drinking Gatorade or something, that would be incorrect. It's not bigoted. You guys are really reaching.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mormons mess up what the Trinity is all the time, but I don't think that makes them bigoted.
Yeah. For sure.
Interpretation of our doctrine on, we wouldn't call that bigotry, but myriad times, multiple times, ad nauseum, he has represented himself as an authority on Mormon doctrine and an evangelical approach to Mormonism and what Mormons really mean. And he's done nothing but recycle old tropes that are no different than like Jewish domination tropes and Rothschild conspiracies. Like he's done nothing other than
Lynn Wilder was kind of more like the Jewish domination, they're infesting the minds of our children type of thing. Mike Winger is more like if you were misrepresenting the intelligence of African Americans.
Yes,
or,
exactly.
Or
yes.
if you were saying that they had crazy rituals that they didn't actually do, like, and you were directing it at a specific race or something
That's
like
actually
that would be bigotry. And so that's why I'm calling this one specifically bigotry. Whereas if he gets something wrong about, the Bible's the word of God as far as it translates, that's more just like a misrepresentation and not bigotry.
Hey, just while we're on the subject, this is something I like about YouTube. When you come here to the bottom, do you see that little spike on the graph?
Oh, most replayed?
That shows most replayed section is right here in the middle. So let's see what the most replayed section is and see if it's something worth debunking. We're literally just spitballing into a random section of this video. And I bet you it's something we could debunk. Do you think it's gonna be straight up bigotry or do you think it's just gonna be an error?
I watched this video about 3 times making clips for our debunk of it a year and a half ago. So whatever it is, I'm going to have heard it before.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see what he has to say. Hey, this is the beginning of the spike.
I bet
the looks like 60 second.
I bet that Mike Winger guy can play a G chord, maybe even a C chord. Does seeing that do the same thing to you as it does to me, and like make you never want to have a guitar in the background of a video ever again? Like I'm always like, fuck, I got my computer set up in the room where guitars are, so they're just always gonna be there, and I'm like, shit, I look like that now. Even McData has a guitar in the background.
Side rant, like on the Christmas special and later on their Mormonism After Dark, which secondary rant. Why is it called After Dark? Like they haven't gotten spicy once on there yet. Like, come on. But
the spiciest they ever got was when Bill Reel said "off the reservation" and then apologized profusely and donated to some stupid charity because of it.
But they keep having people playing songs, and songs do not carry on StreamYard. You cannot play your guitar. It funnels out the sound weird and badly, and they need to have people stop trying to do it because you can't play the guitar and hear it well over StreamYard stuff. End of side rant.
And spike in the video. Let's see if he's got to say Mike Winger. Go.
You could just pray and you would get a good feeling about whatever theology to believe. Problem is, we would all be getting all kinds of different feelings. And we would all get the theology that would make us feel good because it felt good when we got it, And so there's like a danger there of going off of feelings. What does scripture say about my feelings? It says my heart is deceitful and desperately wicked, and I therefore cannot trust it.
So what, you didn't trust your own heart when you married your wife, bro?
Well, it doesn't make sense. That's more of a misrepresentation, and I would call the other one.
The other one was a misrepresentation.
Is that a misrepresentation though?
There's there's also no difference. There's no difference in if he's just a little wrong, even if he is or not.
Is it a misrepresentation though? Because isn't that the whole Moroni's promise thing?
Yeah, and it's part of, I guess those guys. I don't know if he's sola scriptura, but like they say, you can't just trust your feelings type of deal. You got to go with, what's told to you is true.
More big because what he's saying with the going to hell one is like they teach that I'm going to hell, you guys. Those Mormons over there, they say whenever I try to do this to debunk them or to do it, they say I'm going, not like Hitler is going into a nicer place than me, guys. And so that's bigotry against the church. It's misrepresenting them for the purpose of portraying them as stupid or culty.
Okay, if this part sucks, I'll just cut it out. I have to see the rest of what he had to say.
Okay.
It's in this big spike. Here we go.
I want to trust the Lord with my heart, not trust my heart with the Lord. trust my heart to give me theology. That's scary. Is it possible that maybe even Satan can cause good feelings to happen in a person? I don't see why not. And so
that's actually against the Bible. A house divided cannot stand. They accuse Jesus Christ.
Wait, this is Curtin being a bigot?
Casting out devils by the power of Beelzebub.
Is Card being a bigot right now? Because
he's disagreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, he is saying that guy is wrong about theology, and I don't know. Who knows what the actual doctrine is? But maybe it's part of his church's doctrine that the devil can give you good feelings or whatever. So Cardin is being a bigot right now by his own rules.
Above, but he said, if I cast them out, then by whose power did your fathers cast them out and did their healing? So when you say, oh, I don't know, the devil could do it. No, Jesus Christ himself said the devil does not do good. You do not understand Christ. You say you have the real Jesus. Yes, you don't understand the basics of the real Jesus, Mike Winger. You're a religious bigot and kind of an idiot. Like, learn your Bible, bro. You're a pastor. Okay, what, ignorant? What's a better word? You didn't like that. You didn't like that. What should I have said?
So the third one.
No, let's finish. We're gonna finish. I got to see what else he said.
Yeah, yeah. Getting an answer from God in that case. But that's a verse they use often because they don't want to.
I'm just going to get through the third one, then we can get off the.
Mormonism with evidence. They want to prove it with your feelings.
No, we just recognize evidence is not the only way for you to have a testimony. You have to have, as the evangelicals like putting it, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, or with actually Father in heaven, we should say. And that comes through the Holy Spirit uniquely. So
we addressed this video in 2 parts. We addressed another video about him. We did the Pirate Bible. That was more of a fun video. And we did the book
Did we
of
address
Abraham.
this part too?
We not this specific part, but they go off on the feeling things a lot. So we did another clip of him talking about feelings. But Mike, we've asked you to have a conversation. Multiple people have invited you to have a conversation to actually deal with the evidence. And instead, you're just still sitting over here talking about how it's been a year since we put out the debunk to this thing.
Yeah,
you never
that's
emailed
true.
back. I emailed it to your team. They said thanks for sending this to us, and then they never got back about maybe.
We need to get some like James O'Keefe person. We need to get some James O'Keefe person that's just like willing to go in there and be like, you've said all this horrible stuff about Mormons. Like, why won't you debate them if you've talked about being an authority on them? Like, that's really, you know what? Mormonism needs its own OMG, its own O'Keefe Media Group, its own Project Veritas. Okay, so you want to move on past this?
So number 1 was social ostracization. That was Lynn Wilder. Number 2, misrepresenting doctrine. 2, portrays as stupid or culty. And now number 3 is kind of the most common in the sense of like everybody understands that this is not what you should be doing. And we go to our beloved pastor James White for this one.
Oh, really? We really got the usual suspects here, man. Okay.
The 3 Stooges.
Okay. Oh, brutal, dude. You're brutal, man.
Of anti-Mormonism. I'm sure there are lovely people in other contexts. But here is his response to somebody who was trying to show, because he made a claim that he had spoken in depth with 5,000 missionaries. And they did a little bit of the math and said, that doesn't check out. And so this is what James White said in response to this person on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. He said, chuckle, I have to smile at someone who can actually believe the book of Abraham trying to pull this off. I guess you might have wanted to know that the majority of said, and then he goes on. But the dismissal and mocking beliefs rather than actually responding to them is a well-established form of bigotry that unfortunately people like this.
Okay, Ward Radio. Okay, Ward Radio. Hang on a second there. The just mocking dismissal of criticisms, huh? You don't like that? That's bigotry? All right, Cardin.
Yeah, it's a type 1 error of a video, and there's plenty of bigotry out there against Mormons, and you guys didn't land on any of them.
Fallacy. This is straight up religious bigotry, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying it's a form of bigotry because you're saying that what you believe is so stupid that I don't even have to talk to you.
Okay, interesting. And then justifying persecution, because there is a question about whether or not what they're doing is not just plain old harassment. Like if you were to sit outside of the Wailing Wall, okay, and then tell Jews how mistaken they are, not even mistaken, like they're going to hell because of X. At what point does it become harassment whose root is just...
What's that?
I was just saying, he sure loves that Jew example.
Yeah, he goes through it all the time. Yeah.
He never stops using it. Maybe this is just my own like sort of Nietzschean power dynamic interpretation of this shit, but it feels to me, because it is a real question, like how dumb does an idea have to be before I have to contend with it? And I've realized the more that I go through it, because like the idea that men can get pregnant, that's a dumb idea. And I'm angry that I have to contend with it. I never want to contend with it. But it's less about how stupid the idea has to be and more about how prevalent the idea is, how much power the idea has behind it. Because like if flat earthers suddenly, if suddenly like 40% of America became flat earthers, you're going to have to contend with a dumb idea. And so I don't know. I kind of get what he's saying. And it sounds kind of like the flat earther just being angry that his idea doesn't have enough prevalence to be in that weird little Nietzschean power struggle of ideas.
Yeah.
Religious bigotry. Like there is a line somewhere. And there's a good question about, is what you're doing outside of the Mesa temple or the Mesa, Arizona temple, is that plain old harassment? Because it doesn't seem like you're operating anymore off of sincerely held religious beliefs, but you're operating off of like some kind of weird team sport persecution complex. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can really call what you're doing evangelization if it's so easily mistaken for harassment, if that makes sense. So but that's not to say that all evangelization is harassment. Sometimes you have to take a risk. Like, I mean, missionaries knock doors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure not every single person that had their door knocked on totally appreciates that, right? But we're also not consistently going to the same doors and targeting all of the Jews in the neighborhood, for example. We're not consistently going to the Muslim mosque and then saying, oh, we're just asking questions here, even though all we have
I mean, maybe there's something there to that. Like, the Mormons don't like stand outside of churches or something like that. But
Yeah, so I always thought it was shitty how every general conference you'll have like the super Christian pastors standing out there talking about how Mormonism's going to hell and shit like that. And I don't know. I guess you could tell me that's bigoted, but
Well, the guy they were talking about there, James White, he used to come every general conference and hand out. Yeah. Yeah, he used to always be down because I used to go down there and play a lot during general conference with the street preachers. But but he stopped coming. He kind of got driven out by the super loud mouthed street preachers down there that they didn't like they didn't like his approach, I guess. It was too
he was too soft or something.
Yeah. Well, it was too soft.
Really, I'd heard some stuff that he'd been harsh on people, but I don't know.
You at the stake if you disagree with them. You know, literally, now that the U.S. has outlawed it for this small period of time, the Calvinists aren't doing it in North America because it's against the law. But nope, they were fine with it before. And then it says bigots may also regard or treat members of a group with hatred and intolerance. Definitely the intolerance part they got down. Whereas Mormons,
the intolerance he was reading there, but that's the quote in there that has the look.
You said you talked to 5,000 missionaries, had like in-depth conversation with them. The math's not mathing, and that's how his response starts. As a person who's put himself up as like a light of, I'm the pro debater of Mormonism, I'm the one that's showing everybody else how to handle these guys, then that's a problem.
Yeah, so I just literally looked up definition of religious bigotry, ? It says religious bigotry is the intolerance of another person's religious beliefs, practices, or lack thereof. Okay, at least with the Apologia Studios or James White guys.
The lack thereof is there in that one.
It kind of just makes it seem like religious bigotry isn't a very big deal. That's all that makes it seem like to me. Like if I don't know, if you want to call a guy on the street corner saying Mormons are going to hell bigoted, that's fine. It probably falls under the definition. I also just don't care that much.
Yeah. So, like I said, it feels like we're in a world of type 1 errors and type 2 errors. And some of the big type 2 errors going on in the world right now are, I guess, a big reconciliation is coming around in Europe or in England with those rape groups, right? And people are finally kind of like coming around to saying, like, okay, we let this go. And part of why we let it go was because we were trying so hard to not be bigoted that we allowed rape gangs inside of England for a while. And that's been a huge thing out in the news just in this last week, I guess, because for some reason they're finally like laying down some sentences and that sort of stuff for those people. And there was just a thing this week that I think Tom Holland, I've got the Twitter thing of it. Tom Holland, the writer, the guy who talks about Christianity and all that sorts of stuff from an atheistic point of view, but kind of gives
not Spider-Man.
Not Spider-Man, Tom Holland. He put out this tweet here. It says the true nightmare of Rotherham is that motives of those who turned a blind eye, however monstrous the consequences, were indeed noble. So it's kind of coming back around, and then the internet went crazy on him for that because I mean, he said that a long time ago, but people like dragged it back up as like, what is he talking about? Because the impulse to not be bigoted made people in large groups, police officers, judges, whoever, turn a blind eye to rape gangs. And it's kind of like just,
well, it's that whole thing about the discrimination. We call all forms of discrimination bigotry. I don't know that we should, but we've decided that discrimination is just always a bad thing. And it just clearly isn't. I don't know. I feel like if I got a town and I can let whoever I want in and not let other people in, if there's a group of people like that say in their group, like it's actually just totally okay to rape women whenever you want to. I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to discriminate against that group of people. If that's your rule. I know it's always more complicated than that, but it,
Yeah, which comes back all the way around to what's going on with Maga and Vivek. And the left was putting out this meme today as a big gotcha. The Black Americans are lazy, have bad culture, and need to work harder like Asians. And MAGA, haha, yeah. And then white Americans are lazy, have bad culture, and need to work harder like Asians. MAGA, and part of the problem with this is like, well, yeah, but if you show a leftist person, those rage faces are just reversed, right?
Yeah, I know.
What's the difference?
I also kind of feel like what Vivek is doing here is kind of like how like Jews are always trying to attack on Judeo-Christian values or whatever, and which is fine because most Jewish faiths have like pretty good values and stuff like that. It feels like it's the same thing where you say Asian culture, like that's half the fucking world, man. That's and so you're lumping in Indian people with Japanese people, and they have very different cultures.
Yeah. So part of the huge big push on all that was to like look at things like that have been in the news for a while, stuff like this, that Boeing replaced engineers with cheaper HB1 Indians, and that's one of the reasons like their stuff was falling apart. So it's like coming back around to the DEI argument type stuff, but for HB1s. And there was a lot of different people pointing out that there were lawsuits. I think Hypocrite pointed some of that out. I actually even Sam Hyde pointed out in his video that there was a lot of different lawsuits that actually got won, that when certain South Asians started taking over companies, they started discriminatorily practicing hiring just for those. And then, of course, they make the argument, too, that it can be like a form of finding slave labor because they come here on a visa and they have to work for the company they're with or be sent back home. So you can underpay them to do it. And there is all sorts of problems with that. But, of course, so you're stuck in the thing again, like, is it bigotry to criticize this? Well, yes, some of the people criticizing it are just mad that the place is starting to look like Calcutta, and then some people are really pointing out that this is getting gamed quite a bit, but it's almost like it gets lost in the noise. Like, just like with Ward Radio, it's lost in the noise. Like, we can't call balls and strikes because everything's taken to the concept creep extreme, on everything. Like, nobody can sit there and say, yes, this one is, no, that one isn't, when they're reviewing anything. Bigotry. So do we have our thumbs on what is actual bigotry or not? Could we actually call balls and strikes, or do we miss them or get them?
I don't know, man. I nothing. Cardin is just so deep into this calling things bigotry thing. It's kind of like I feel like it's just a weak man's argument. That's the easiest way I can explain wokeness is the weak man's argument. That like you don't have anything else good.
It's a Nietzschean slave morality crying critique.
I think he struck out trying to. I mean, just because someone disagrees with your religion, who's in a different religion, does not make them bigotry. Or if they mess up on who's going outer darkness.
Yes, and there's no way. We know there's no way to land on a criticism that they would call okay. We know that. Like, there's nothing you can say that wouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, I don't know. I lost my thought. Never mind. Go on.
I've heard Ward Radio go on about, how the Trinity is not biblical and all that. I mean, that's not bigotry for them to say it.
Well, they'll even talk about how it's stupid. Like, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was a Mormon. I was like, no, he's the same person, but not the same person. They're one, but separate. They're God the Father, the Son, the Holy, but they're the same or what. And I make fun of it, and Cardin does it too. Just quit acting like you're above this. If you want to label it bigotry, fine. Just be consistent in what your label of bigotry is, and you are not.
So to show some of that other side of what Flip was talking about, here's
in the face of genocide.
Hey,
Bet you didn't think I would come for you on TikTok, but like I said, I'm emailing everyone that follows you, everyone that follows your organization. I am creating flyers that I will be handing out during protests to every single person, letting them know that you work with Jesse Fuentes, who accepts Zio money and is pinkwashing.
Oh, Christ.
That is correct. That is a fact.
That stuff's all over TikTok like right now, and I don't know. Is that the same thing as like there's a Mormon organization? I don't. That seems like the entirety of the left has also gotten just horseshoe theory once again because the far right can call everything Zio Jews and all that sorts of deal, and then
so it kind of feels like I'm not super huge into Jung, but his whole idea of integrating the shadow, basically like taking the darker parts of yourself and realizing that you can't just abolish them. You have to. There are circumstances under which they are desirable traits, so you have to integrate them in a healthy way. So for men, that's generally violence. Men have higher testosterone, and testosterone makes you more violent generally. That's a simplification, but so find healthy ways to integrate your own violence through like video games, maybe MMA, bodybuilding, whatever it is. And I feel like the classic woman counterpart to that is this whole Karen shit.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for a Karen, so integrate your Karenosity into something healthy and just don't be an annoying bitch all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I have just some funny clips so that we can call it good unless you want to. What's on the screen right now?
So I'm gonna go ahead and check out.
You're gonna check you out. Thanks for checking in and telling us. We'll be watching for you popping up on Steve's. There, and tell him hi for us. And,
All right.
It'll be exciting to hear it.
I will. All right. Thanks for letting me on, guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
See you, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll see it.
All right. Let's just watch some funny ones that expose us as bigots, just to end the stuff. And here we go.
Came straight from the bottom to the top of my lifestyle.
Oh, that's bigoted. Is it? Nah.
It's cultural appropriation. Somebody should tell him.
Cultural appropriation. Like who's the bigot right there? Are we bigoted for laughing at it? I love Down syndrome people in their TikTok. Like it's the funniest.
Oh, I know, it's hilarious, but we are ableist for laughing at it. So we need our PP slapped, but he also needs his PP slap. You need to go explain to your Down syndrome uncle that no, it's not okay to culturally appropriate Black culture like that. It's more of a systemic problem, really, because he was raised in a system that encouraged that.
All right, are you ready for it? What happened to the black dude from that Mormon show, Studio?
Grew up in a Christian house. Used to be a good kid, now I'm bad. Now I smoke cigarettes and say cuss words. I'm gay.
Oh, I was worried he became funny.
You're worried about that?
Yeah, I was like, oh, is that what's going to happen? Like, you leave Mormonism and you become funny?
The girls.
Yeah, did it keep going? Hold on. Oh, that's him doing more. I didn't even know he had more. When I was watching Studio C, there's like 4 or 5 guys I thought were probably gay, and he was not one of them.
I know. He was actually last on my list for my gaydar, so I was off.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the church should.
Well, you probably have a weird feedback loop in your gaydar since you seem to set other people's gaydars off constantly at the gym.
Oh yeah, that's true. Only when you're shredded. Gay guys only care when you're shredded.
Yeah.
Gay guys are bigoted towards bulking, man. They're bigoted towards fat. I'll tell you that right now.
And they will objectify the shit out of you.
All right, here's some bigotry.
I don't know if you've seen this trend yet. Angel Reese, good on her. She's got her own cereal. The girl's getting paid, but everybody's shopping it, throwing it in their basket, and missing. First time.
Oh my god, I love watching her bitch about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. Like this, okay, this person is like lifting your league that you ostensibly care about from the brink of nothing and like increasing its viewership to a point where it's only super unprofitable now. But
Well, he reviewed the stats just to make sure, like, he thought maybe this is me,
thinking, man, this is kind of rude. I mean, sure, she doesn't shoot threes like Caitlin Clark, but Angel's still a good player. And then I thought about it. Maybe I should look it up and see how well her field goal percentage is and her three-point percentage. So I went to ESPN's website. Looks like her field goal is a 39. We'll call this a 19% field goal and three-pointer, right? Then I asked the AI, what is the average WNBA three-point percentage and field goal percentage? And this is what it came up with. So we got 34.7 on three-pointers and 44.3 on field goal. Then pulling back up her stats, I saw she is nowhere near the average three-point shooter or field goal shooter in the WNBA. So now that I know that, I no longer think this video is kind of mean. I actually think it's pretty damn funny. I don't know.
Oh, what an autistic hero. What was Shaq's free throw percentage that we all used to
Oh, it
make
was
fun of him
terrible.
for?
It was terrible. But they centered the game around it. That's why they played Hack-a-Shaq and would smack him and get him to the line for it. So they could try to destroy his dominance by making him have to shoot free throws. So there was a workaround for his, here's more on the WNBA.
First, I want to say a special thank you to the Minnesota Lynx. I don't know about you, but that is some of the most beautiful basketball we have ever seen in WNBA Finals history, and both teams deserve a ton of credit and love.
Winning team shoots 30% from the field. In the overtime, they outscore them 7-2. There's more turnovers than made baskets in the overtime. Two of your best players that are on the winning team. One is 4-15 from the field. The other is 1 of 19 from the field. No one can make a shot. And I get it. Holly Rowe has a job to do. She's got to say, this is history. This is incredible. And Sabrina Ionescu's, I would have been embarrassed if I was Sabrina Ionescu.
Man, that stuff. I tell you what, what you gonna do?
And that Reese's Puff shit is hilarious.
Throwing it and missing.
Oh, Jesus.
Here, we'll dunk on men a little bit, how they watch sports.
College playoff team. And this
Oh, shit.
quarterback doesn't have
Troy just found out you're not gay.
What? Sorry.
He's a career backup and he's not built for the big moments. I've been saying that.
Take it.
When might be telling tales out of school, but I think when Steve Pinecker was first talking to me, he thought I was gay. Not that he wasn't like hitting on me in any way, but I think that's what he was thinking.
Easy. Isn't he only like 20 years old?
So what? He knows what he signed up for. It's time to be a big boy and step it up.
Yeah, but you're like 40 and you had a panic attack at work this week.
That's different. I had to give a presentation for my boss and 12 coworkers. What's this kid, your nephew or something? Let me enjoy myself.
Yeah. I guess that's just more on the sports stuff. I think I showed you that. Did you watch that video of the 3-pointers missed in the NBA?
Did you show it last week?
No, I didn't show it last week. I showed it to you guys in the
I don't remember.
Threads. Here.
Like any regular play, handoff to D'Angelo Russell on the wing.
It says NBA is not beating those 3-pointer allegations.
Three. He misses. Lakers get the rebound. Pass it back to LeBron. A very long three. Okay, now it's Phoenix's turn. This is the fourth quarter with 11 minutes left. Oh, a pull-up jumper, no passing, no play. Miss. Lakers get the ball back. Oh, LeBron's going to do the exact same thing. Phoenix back with the ball. Let's see if they run some sort of play in this one. Okay, we're driving to the paint. We're kicking out. Bradley Beal on the wing. Let's see. Is he going to drive to the paint? Is he going to shoot? Nope. He's going to come off the screen and shoot another three. There's nobody truly in the paint rebounding for any of these plays. Here's LeBron. Is he going to pull up? Is he going to take it in? Oh, D'Angelo Russell with our first shot. That is not a 3-pointer, but he misses. Back with the ball to the corner. Swing pass, kick. Another 3-point attempt. Lakers back with the ball. LeBron playing point. Let's see if they run some sort of play. High screen. Oh, he's getting double teamed. Kick. Oh, looks like another 3 from the corner in this one.
Now, when I've said multiple times that I watched an NBA's final game and I was on the Stairmaster, and when I got through it, I was pretty positive I'd burn more calories than all 10 guys on the court. And,
Yeah, man.
And I'm close to like serious about it.
Wait, I'm looking at the score. Phoenix is winning right now, which is crazy to me because, man, that first 3 that LeBron shot, man, he didn't even try to get closer. Like, he was like 10 feet out from.
Oh, that's just what they do nowadays.
And he just like. Bleh.
They keep saying like maybe one of their answers is to push the 3-point outline farther, and I think that they'll just keep shooting. They're already shooting that far out.
I know.
It doesn't change anything, But well, it still keeps going.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so it just keeps going. Like no one has made a shot yet, and we are almost in a 2-minute sequence. Then Brad Beal is going to lose the ball out of bounds. Goes back to the Lakers.
Who's he mad at?
And let's see what they decide to do. D'Angelo Russell's going to take the ball up this time. He's going to maybe go off the high screen. No, LeBron's going to take the high screen to Jackson Hayes. Oh, he's going to kick out to the corner. Another 3 and a miss. But he gets the rebound. Do we think they're going to run a play?
How did they get the score that high in the first 3 quarters?
3-pointers, man. They just made some of them.
Like they didn't. They had to make a lot of them to get it that high.
Yeah. Did you realize that Elon Musk did trans affirming surgery there?
Yeah, I love how it like I'm not a fan of cosmetic surgeries. I think if you're gonna go bald, then go bald. If you get like hair plugs, I'm gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna laugh at you. I'm not gonna call it gender affirming because men go bald.
Yeah,
So
you'd be more male to go bald, right?
I know it'd be more male to go bald, but also not every cosmetic surgery is gender affirming. Like sometimes women just want to have really big tits, It's not doesn't make them more woman. It just makes them more fuckable in their mind, and they want to be more fuckable.
Yeah.
And if that the newer picture of Musk is more fuckable than the older picture of 20-year-old mostly bald Musk.
Here's the bassist from Poison, Nikki Sixx, taking a picture with his wife and kid in front of a LDS church.
Damn.
Think that means anything? Think they're gonna join?
Probably. Who knows? What else are they gonna? It's either that or like join a polycule. Those seem to be the only alternatives.
All right, back to the NBA. You know how traveling is. You know the traveling rules, right?
There are no traveling rules in the NBA, are there? I mean, I remember as a kid being really confused when I first started watching the NBA because, man, they were on us like a hawk anytime we traveled. You could pivot wrong and they'd be like, nope, travel. And then you watch the NBA and they'll just jump straight up in the air like 5 times.
If they just like called this, it would make it better. But I mean, it's just more of like why it sucks. But
travels. Let's go take a look. Starting off with a heater at number 10. Give me this James Harden step back. James got away with this stuff for way too long, and I know a lot of them weren't a travel, but this step back definitely was. With the number 9 pick, give me when Klay Thompson does a pump fake and then the boot scooting boogie into a 3-point brick. You know the Warriors are 40 piece in this team when the bench is over here clowning Klay like this.
This game sucks so much now.
At number 8, give me when Carmelo Anthony takes the
Joe.
bus to the 3-point line here. I don't want to hear a single one of you say,
did you see all the steps before he picked up the ball?
Yeah. This was a gather step. This is a whole gather trip. You can't take 10 steps in the middle of one dribble. What is that? Same goes for number 7, Paul George. What is that? 8 steps before a fast break dunk? At this point, what are the refs even watching? Paul George literally takes like 6 or 7 steps here before the dunk. At number 6, I got when LeBron James literally walks the ball up the court. LeBron does this stuff all the time, and he always gets away with it. And the coach right here knows that. At number 5, I got when some random takes 2 steps, pushes the defender off, takes 2 more, and finishes the layup. Honestly, just an innovative move here. I mean, that's kind of hard to see as a ref, especially when they're blind. At number 4, I got when this random hops on a flight to the 3-point line. How are we even letting this slide? I mean, this guy picks his dribble up at half court, takes about 10 steps, hesitates, and then pulls up for 3. At number 3, Give me when Corey Brewer goes on a mission for this fast break dunk. NBA refs, what are we watching? How the heck do you even miss that? At number 2, I got some 10-day contract big man taking a little walk over here on the top of the key. Dribble handoff, nothing there. Let me just go dribble again. Dribble handoff. Uh-oh.
Wait,
I was
he just
wondering
double
how that
dribbled.
Double dribbled.
That was like 2 travels and a double dribble.
This didn't like. There was some little bits of traveling in the 90s, but no, like this stuff would not have happened.
Heck, you got away with
I
that
remember
for
people
real.
complaining about this when I was a kid, but this is insane.
Before we get to number 1, if you guys like the list so far and want to see more lists, don't forget to like and follow. And finally, at number 1, give me when LeBron James travels, then smokes the game-winning layup. Drop a comment if you know what he did after this. Top 10 most outrageous.
That's amazing.
But whatever. You know.
See, there's where your integrated den mother shadow needs to be. Is the refs being like, you actually broke a rule there, buddy. Like,
we need some regulation. This is the stuff I'm excited for AI right here. I want to see this movie.
Hey, puto! Yes, man, there's a bitch. Shit, man. Son of a bitch, she cheating, man. Hey, bitch. No homeboy for her tonight, man.
back to the alternate future.
When they like are able to make entire movies, making Marty like a cholo, I'm gonna watch the shit out of him. Like,
hell yeah,
I will watch the entire movie of that whenever you can do it. But I mean, I guess it might get to a point where you could just like type it in.
I know it'll be stupid. Like it'll be like all the YouTube videos we can watch right now, and then somebody sends it to us, and we're like, you know, that would be interesting if I didn't have all this selection anxiety or whatever it is.
All right, we're gonna watch our funny girl real quick.
I get a lot of people asking me why I dress like a trad wife, and the answer is I just really like this style of clothes. I'm legal, by the way, so I just really like how the clothing looks. I'm also very ashamed of the flesh, just as a concept. I'm deeply uncomfortable with carnality. I've never felt the touch of a man.
I sent you a good AI one in one of those groups.
Just barely?
Yeah, I think so.
I see it. Whoa. It took me a second to see who it was. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, I can't.
You see that caption? You think that's air you're breathing?
Oh man. Jeez. Yeah. So this is bigotry. No, I'm just kidding. That's too funny. I think there's, I got some Spanish jokes, but I want to watch these wrestlers real quick.
Hey, stop, bro!
They're wrestling an Invisible Man.
Invisible Man, he is standing tall.
Wow. The Invisible Man has been waiting for this one. Oh! Is the Invisible Man going to take this? Oh! What? A double choke slam.
Oh, he puts the arm over. Oh, wait. Whoa. No, they both got goozled.
No, he turned around on. Oh! Choke
slam. I think those backyard wrestling guys are some of the most creative people around sometimes.
I know.
They should have had that stuff in like the main thing all the time. But
just embrace the kayfabe.
Yeah. No, I mean they really do all the time. I freaking love them. But getting there.
Jesus.
Oh, autistic hero of the week. You ready for him?
Okay.
Real one.
won French Scrabble without even speaking French? Well, he just did the exact same thing, but with Spanish, and the story this time is even crazier. You see, after winning 5 English Scrabble World Championships and 2 French World Championships, Nigel Richards got bored again. So 6 years after last winning in French, Nigel won the Spanish World Championship this past month as a new challenge. When the Spanish pros heard that he didn't even speak a lick of their language, they all said he didn't stand a chance since Spanish isn't like French. But they might have forgotten that Nigel is so much better than anyone else alive at Scrabble that people once thought he was cheating and tried comparing his moves with the computers, just to realize that his moves were so complex that even the computer couldn't see them. So despite being 57 now, Nigel still dominated the Spanish pros, winning 23 out of his 24 games. Since he had memorized the entire Spanish dictionary, he was using words that even these native speakers had never heard of. When the second place guy, he was in complete shock and just said it was a humiliation. But Nigel didn't even seem to care about winning and just left without giving any interviews like he always does. It's now expected that he'll continue trying to master Scrabble in other languages as well.
That's amazing. Like, I wouldn't be humiliated if I lost to that guy. Are you kidding me? Dude.
How do you memorize the whole book and still not be able to speak it? I mean, maybe he just doesn't know what the words mean. He just knows they exist.
Memorizing words is a lot different than like finding, grammar and structure and shit like that.
But you don't know what they mean like enough where like you learn in second language acquisition that you should be able to speak in broken sentences, just kind of with you don't have to have.
Yeah, but if this is just like, if it's just so, okay, I've honestly never in my life played Scrabble. Do you just have to know words or do you have to know meanings?
No, you don't have to know meanings.
Oh, so if he just flat out can memorize shit like that, because like I see that with my autistic hero of the week, with my Lucas, my 6-year-old, who like he figured out the other day that there's a mini game he can play on his little Alexa thing called Number Snake, and it gives you a string of like 12 numbers and tells you to repeat it back, and if you get it right, it gives you more numbers, and then sometimes it'll throw you a little curveball and be like, now tell me what the last 5 numbers in that were. And I heard him play that for like 20 minutes and I didn't hear him make a single mistake. It was nuts. So I don't know, maybe this dude has a brain like that where you can just memorize things without quite understanding the meaning behind them.
Yeah. It's wild to me, but I mean, and he also kind of has to know like where like triple point stuff hits and all that sorts of stuff because he's got to be expert in that. So, but I don't know. The guy's wild. Here's the Spanish joke.
Spanish, there's a lot of words that start with the letter J. The next letter, not so much, and I don't know why. Porque.
Oh God!
That joke.
Oh, come on! Why you gotta do that to me?
Yeah, I don't have much else. I mean, there's just other little dumb jokes, which we're just rounding out with. But sooner or later, we got to cover Korhor, dude. He was on with Maven this week, and we could do a lot of groveling on that. Yeah, and other stuff doesn't pop up. We got either. You're still feeling sick.
Oh yeah, I mean I feel like ass, but I'm just sitting in front of a computer bullshitting, so I can do that. No, the Korhor thing was funny to me. I want to watch more of his stuff now because it felt like he was just slightly smarter than your normal guy that is trying to prove that he's, quote, one of the good ones. Mm-hmm. And he really, really wanted that validation from Maven. It was hilarious.
Yeah. It is ridiculous. Yeah, I don't really, but I mean, I'd like to go over it and read each one of the things. Maybe we can even get him on. He seems willing to go on and talk with people.
Yeah.
We try to do that. So, yeah, I don't have anything else but some other dumb jokes. I was already going down. That's why I had to resort to a dad joke.
Oh, man. I got to send that one to me because I got to send it to somebody who loves that stupid shit.
Loves dad jokes?
Yeah.
And there you go. All right. Well, I mean, I don't have much else, so we'll wait for some more goofiness to happen and try not to be bigots all week. No criticism.
Well, Risto pointed out that we're already being bigoted against 3-point shooters, so
Oh yeah.
mission failed.
I mean, I guess we bigot all of them, don't we? But
Yeah.
don't associate with us, folks. But that's bigoted. If you are bigoted towards bigots, it's bigotry. Because my bigotry is my sincerely held belief.
Yeah. What are you, a homophobe?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. So, alrighty.
Actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of the paradox of tolerance.
No, I've never seen that.
I will send you a very informative meme on that, okay?
I'll try to read it all.
But really, you should pay me for that emotional labor.
Really? Oh,
Mhm.
I do have one last little oldie but goodie. Do you remember when Alec Baldwin's wife, who doesn't speak Spanish, pretended that it's all she spoke?
No.
You didn't see that? This is Hilaria Baldwin, and she doesn't speak Spanish. It's not her first language. And she was
Oh,
the show
God.
pretending like it was.
My husband hates cebolla. I forgot it. Okay. Cebolla. So he hates cebolla.
Oh my God.
Cebolla. Hates the cebolla. Ale tastes cebolla. It gets so pissed. It just gets so like, what the hell is this? Is it cebolla? Tastes like shit. You get called a onion. That's right. It's such a stupid word.
Yeah, so it came out that she was faking that entirely. Like,
Of course she's faking it. That's such horse shit. That's a missionary trope, man. I'm still engrossed in the language. I actually forgot how to speak English. No, you didn't, you fuck.
yeah. Anyway, that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. What was it? The big I think maybe the biggest slip up in Portuguese that I made after I got home from my mission was like in Brazil, and they put the inflection differently on So instead of saying I'd be like and people were like, "That's fucking weird." I'm like, I kind of just it went away after a while, but or like my brother played a video game with me the first day I was back, and he beat me at it, and I was like, "Oh, ganyo." He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Sorry, I just kind of I didn't forget how to say you won." But I know so many missionaries that try to pretend that they forgot like English.
Oh no, I mean it happened to me. Like it happens to me still because there's sometimes that there's some words that you only ever really said in Spanish and you kind of forget the you're just trying to like reach for a word and like I know the Spanish word for it is this, but what is it? And it's not a language so good thing. It's just like you're drawing a blank, but for some reason you can pull up one of the words that you know for it.
Yeah, but onion isn't one of those words.
No, it wouldn't be onion. But
like how do I say computador? I can't remember what's the English word for computador.
I actually have
computer. Okay, yeah, I'm just so engrossed in my Portuguese.
Here's a meme for that. It says, "Did you know when you can't think of a word, say I forget the English word for it." Then people will think you're bilingual instead of a disappointment that you are. But I mean, no, I mean that's happened to me, especially like when I'm trying to go in and out of English and Spanish like so much. Sometimes I'll get weird with it both ways when I'm at work talking to two different people.
Well, I mean, I had a guy in my ward who was in the same mission as me, and when I called my mom on Mother's Day or Christmas, one of the times, I was talking to her, she's like, "Are you having a hard time remembering English?" I was like, "What? No." And she's like, "Oh, well, Jason, when he called his mom earlier, she was telling me that he had such a hard time remembering English that his brothers that also went to Brazil had to translate for him." And I was like, "Yeah, he's lying. He's not like I spoke English with Jason 2 days ago. He can speak it just fine. And if he forgot English entirely in the 8 months that he's been here, he's stupid." So
there's some stuff that so as a missionary, you started doing it so automatically, like giving a prayer or something like that, and you had to do it so many times that it just like was the automatic thing. And then you come home and they say, "Could you say the prayer?" And you're like, "Oh,
yeah, I mean,
how did you guys even do it in English? I don't remember." And
but your heaven Father. Oh shit.
Yeah, but if you stopped and thought about it, you could get it out. It's just like you'd be like, "Oh man, I had this on autopilot in Spanish," and but it lasts at most 4 days or something like that, you know. So you're just so used
Well,
to
and it was English missionaries or American missionaries were always speaking English with each other too. That was like anytime there wasn't a Brazilian there. That was actually one of my. I remember I tried to tell him like there was like 4 American dudes and 1 Brazilian. And I'd be like, we should probably speak Portuguese since he's here. So like, we're just
it was a huge
alienating.
problem. It was
We're
a huge
alienating
problem
an
on my mission.
entire guy from the conversation. We all speak 2 languages and he only speaks 1, and we're just using the one that he doesn't speak. That's a little assish, right?
Yeah, it became a huge problem on our mission. Like we'd had to have discussions and talks about it. Like, don't do that if like you have a house of 4 people and one of you is a Spanish speaker. Like, watch out for going in and out in English. And it was really hard to not do it. But I had plenty of times. I don't know if you ever did, but I had plenty of times where I was one of like 6 and I was the only English speaker in there. And
I mean, that was when I learned Portuguese the fastest. Was when I like finally didn't have any Americans around. Like, and I had my first companion was American, and it took me a while to learn Portuguese with him. And then my second companion was Brazilian, and we were isolated. We were really far away from any Americans at all. So I learned it a lot faster in that transfer.
Yeah, I think you need a little bit of both. Like I learned half of the best I learned. I think starting to understand in real time was more helpful to be around Spanish speakers all the time. But when I was around a really, 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 really good English Spanish speaker, learn all the different little tricks and all the different little things and all the, like a really good Spanish speaking English speaker helped me through like a whole bunch of stuff to like really make stuff precise and all that sort of deal. And
yeah, no, it's helpful when somebody can explain to you like the more intricate reasons in English why a rule is a certain way or whatever. But
yeah, for sure. So a little bit of both helped. But
did I tell you about my favorite one? I'm pretty sure I've told this story before. My favorite example of that bullshit ever was that dude who is introducing himself. I think I've told this story a million times, but anyway, where we're in Elders Quorum in our first married ward, and I'm sitting there, and the dude in charge of Elders Quorum is like, all right, we're going to go around in a circle. You'll tell me your names. Tell me where you're from, where you serve your mission if you served one, and maybe what your major's in. We'll start with me. My name's Jordan. I'm from Georgia, born and raised. I served my mission in New Zealand. That's why I talk funny like this. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Got back 2 years ago. Shut the fuck up.
And he's still going.
He's pretending that he has a New Zealand accent.
I did not have one single American companion. I remember that was Sinatra saying that.
Yeah.
I remember when Madonna like lived in England and then said she had an English accent afterwards.
Kind of, yeah.
That's weird. A lot of people don't know though that Christian Bale, I guess he was raised both equally in England and the U.S. as a kid, and he could kind of go in and out of accents.
Well, it's like if
it says he feels comfortable in both of them as his.
Well, it's like if I don't know, if Madonna lived in England for like 4 years and she came back and she's inviting her friends. I was like, "You want to come over to my flat?" They're gonna be like, "What?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it's just that's what we called it back there." That wouldn't be weird.
Yeah, you can see some
I
weird.
can't stop speaking like this. I simply cannot. Would you like some beans and toast?
Yeah, you just pick up things. I mean, there's some realness in some of that, but not as far as it goes.
I guess so. It was always difficult to. I ended up with like a weird accent because I would always try to kind of impersonate the people I was with. So like my first full Brazilian companion was from northern Brazil, and so I picked up some of his stuff, but then I picked up some of the one from the south, and then and plus I have a gringo accent a little bit, unless I was impersonating someone. That was a weird thing. Is that anytime I would try to impersonate somebody, they'd always be like, "Dude, why don't you just talk like that all the time?"
That would happen to me too.
Yeah, your accent totally disappears when you speak like that. I was like, I don't know, it feels weird.
You do like a goofy impersonation or an exageration and make, "Oh, that was perfect." And like, I can't do that all the time. I can't keep
like
that up.
Mickey fucking Mouse in Portuguese all the time.
There was times when I was speaking in Spanish and I totally felt like I know I'm being lazy and being perfect on my accent right now, and I don't care. I don't feel like it. And, I just you get worn out of trying to overly open that mouth and say all the different like little things.
Well, I also had that issue where I would feel a little bit faggy if I tried to over enunciate. You know, like that whole we're gonna go out and get some enchiladas.
Yeah.
With Guadalupe. She is from Guatemala.
But straight up, I mean, have you had it a few times? It'll happen to me even nowadays. I'll start talking to people in Spanish and I won't overemphasize being perfect. And I'll be like, what? And then I'll like, all right, get it a little bit more exaggerated. I say it more exaggerated and they hear me fine. And,
no, I got into it at the very end where I was like, no, I gotta try to sound like a real person when I speak. So I would try to, do my mouth in the correct way and stuff like that. But
I think especially when you start talking to somebody, they don't know that you speak. Like 100% of the time, they're going to say, "What did you just say?" Like if you just say it out of nowhere and they don't expect it, unless you make it really exaggerated and kind of slow.
Yeah, you're right.
Like no matter how perfect you say it, if it's just kind of fast and you said it out of nowhere, you were talking English and you suddenly switch to it, they'll be like, "What?" No matter what.
We would do that. I'd be walking around with a companion in the ice cream popsicle truck or whatever was coming around the corner, and I'd be like, "Quiero picolé," and he's like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And I was like, "Quiero picolé." Oh, okay, yeah, I heard you that time.
Yeah, Sinatra says that's exactly my case. My company has a lot of Colombians working with them, and so when I started speaking Spanish for them, at first they thought I was just a retard, and eventually I started exaggerating my accent. They knew I knew how to speak well. Yeah, it's really weird. It's frustrating too, but
yeah, because it feels weird to exaggerate your accent, but you kind of have to.
Telephone, you got it on the telephone.
Oh yeah.
But what you to do? So you gotta be cringe. If you want to speak, that's actually the truth. Like I said, if people who speak a language better, the ones who dare to be more outgoing, that's something they have found from the data. And you also got to dare to be cringe. That's all there is to it. So, all right, everybody go out there and speak cringe language to people and get better at it.
Vos mismo.
Adios. Right.
Hasta luego.
Later, y'all.